have your whole video later on.
Yes.
And you know.
And there also we should have some shots of Velva. We did.
Right.
We took off from here. We went past Sawyer and Velva, and then we came back through the town and went to Burlington, and we should be able to have some of those shots also.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
The Velva actually at this time looks good.
Okay.
The water still looks like everything was in its banks.
Right.
But they don't have the water yet downstream
Exactly.
that we have.
I was just
but
going
I
to
mean,
go look.
it's
The mayor's getting ready.
The mayor's
the
going
mayor's
to speak, so
coming
we can
on.
put
Yes.
him on right now.
okay.
And you can
All right.
see 16th Street there as we give you one look there. In fact, we'll kind of pop up some of our live shots as we go along with this coverage here. In Velva, they are expecting the river, by the way, to go up 9 feet from where it stands right now, Galen.
Oh, okay.
So that's why they're working on the dikes, I think they are out there. So,
And that's why they're looking so good right now.
right.
Okay,
And
thanks.
so we will have the mayor, as soon as he starts speaking, turn him up. You could turn him up a little bit so I can hear him in my ear just a little bit, Mike. That'd be good. There, I can hear the sound from it, yeah. And boy, did you see those pictures, Joe? Were you watching out there? That was kind of hard to take. I mean, it's like the 1969 video that you see. You know, you see all those homes, and in this case, honestly, well, obviously, the river level is higher now than it was in '69. So we're seeing homes that are covered up even more than they were back 42 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I only caught the last part of it, and
we'll run the whole thing several times.
yes, oh yeah. I mean, you know, since I was out, and I was only gone about 3 hours, to tell you the truth. Back in the newsroom when I got in, just so much has changed.
Yeah.
When I left, this bridge was not underwater.
Right.
This morning, and that was about 9 o'clock. And I told Perry I was thinking it was, any moment, it was going to change.
And we could just use a nickel's worth of more iris on this camera again if we've got it for our camera people listening,
I
and
think
we'll
we'll
listen
get
now to the
started here,
mayor.
if I can have your attention.
A little more.
Thank you all again for being here this afternoon. Try to update the citizens of Minot a little bit of what's going on and what has gone on today. Today, we just got done with our conference call about a half hour ago. Sherwood crested last night at 29,000 CFS to 30,000 CFS, somewhere in that area, and was at 29,700 CFS at 9:30 a.m. That's 1 foot lower than was estimated yesterday or predicted yesterday. During this time of extremely high flows, we are watching the weather patterns closely. Our greatest concern is thunderstorm over the Des Lacs River Basin. Broadway is still closed to allow work on the secondary dikes and will remain closed until we officially announce otherwise. Because of the critical need for a north-south corridor, we are doing everything we can to keep Broadway open. The West 83 bypass is currently open, and we ask that only essential or emergency traffic be on the roadways. Please do not travel in the city unless absolutely necessary. The westbound lane of Highway 2 on the east side of Minot has been closed at the Souris River because of water flowing over the road. There is a detour set up at 55th Street Southeast. We did have a problem on the 3rd Street dike about 4 a.m. this morning. A storm sewer plug blew out and started flooding the Broadway side of the dike. They did get it fixed, but while moving an excavator carrying a 1-ton bag, the excavator fell into a hole between 2 houses. They brought in another excavator and secured the dike. There were 3 other problems in that area, and they were all secured, and the water was pumped back into the river. We have strategically placed fire and police units, ambulances, water rescue boats on both North and South Hills, as well as in the downtown area. We are currently working with the North Dakota Department of Transportation on putting out maps to emergency responders in the area for routes to get to the hospital. There were 4 water rescues performed Thursday. We have rescue crews from Cass County and Grand Forks County assisting us. The Minot Police Department reported that they had 234 calls from 7 a.m. Thursday to 7 a.m. Friday. The police department did have a police car damaged by water last night, when they had to enter an East Central Avenue area to do a welfare check. I want to remind people to stay away from the valley and the Broadway Bridge. Again, I want to remind people in the Minot and surrounding area to conserve water. We have now switched over to the river for our water, which seems to be an unlimited resource, so we won't run out of water. The Red Cross reported that we had 268 people stay in the shelters last night. Shelters are open at the City Auditorium and MSU Dome. There were 58 reported at the Minot Air Force Base shelter. The Salvation Army is working on providing food at 2 locations. The flood hotline, again, is open 24 hours a day. The number is 858-9366. I'd like to call on Governor Dalrymple.
Okay. Mayor Zimbelman, thank you very much. Just a couple of other comments that I did not bring up earlier. But before I do, thanks once again to Senator Hoeven, Senator Conrad, Congressman Berg. Really appreciate your being here. It really made a big difference, I think, in our conference call with Secretary Napolitano, and we're certainly hopeful that we're going to be getting some positive news here before very long. The question has been asked in the past about people who might be interested in making financial contributions to flood relief. And Kurt Zimbelman has told me that they will be designating the Minot Area Community Foundation as a recipient entity in this area, and they in turn will be able to redistribute funds to various charities in the community as needed. The state as a whole will also have the same type of mechanism. We know that there are people nationally, including corporations, who are already asking if they can help financially. And we have established for that purpose the North Dakota Community Foundation as the entity to receive all such contributions, and designated it as the 2011 Flood Relief Fund. Kevin Dvorak is here today in the audience. He is the administrator of the foundation. Their website is www.ndcf for North Dakota Community Foundation, ndcf.net. And if you want to get to the actual place, it would be /flood. They also have a toll-free number, 1-800-605-5252. And they are able to take credit card contributions directly through their website. So as you hear of a company or a person that would like to help the entire state in their flood relief, which is truly statewide, the North Dakota Community Foundation is the entity. If you want to help the Minot area specifically to further distribute funds where they're most needed, Minot Area Community Foundation. The other thing I have is that, even though we are still frantically fighting the flood, trying to keep the water away still as much as possible, we're very rapidly going to be into a period where we're dealing with the human impacts of this. We know with many, many people in the shelters, many thousands of people displaced, the stress of this incident is going to build up very quickly. And in that regard, we have help through the North Dakota Department of Human Services. I'd like to introduce to you today a person by the name of Dr. Andy McPhail is with us. He is a state employee. He is, fortunately for us, recognized as a national expert in disaster mental health. He is called to lecture around the world, has been involved for many years helping the Fargo community get through their nearly annual flood experiences. So just briefly, I'd like to call on Dr. McPhail.
Thank you, Governor. You know, as I've fought a number of floods myself, and as the Governor mentioned, have been able to talk with many people around the world who are actually very interested in how we've had the resilience to continue to bounce back. You heard the congressional delegation talk about that. And people are very interested. One of the things that we know about resilient communities is they're successful in a number of ways. One is they have strong leadership, and we see that here. They have an ability to engage the citizens, and we're seeing that throughout the community. They're able to utilize resources very well. We're also witnessing that every day. And they pay attention to how we're doing from an emotional standpoint, as the Governor mentioned, and that's why I'm here. So over the next few days, if my boss, the Governor, allows, or if the Mayor wishes, I will stay around for the weekend, a few days, and be talking with people, the media, city and county government about these issues. Lastly, I just want to say, for the people who have evacuated or need to evacuate, you know, you leave your trailer, you leave your apartment, you leave your house, but you bring your home. You maintain those connections, you maintain those routines within your family, and that's very important for people. We had talked before about the 3 R's, maintaining rest. You can't function, first responders can't function, we can't function without rest. You make those connections, and you keep those relationships and you keep those routines. Very important throughout this whole fight. So I'll be around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McLean. I would also like to, I failed to recognize Congressman Berg is here. Thank you for being here, Congressman. Now I'd like to have General Sprincenatic from the North Dakota National Guard come up. I see Senator Hoeven has just arrived as well. Thank you, Senator, for being here.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, everyone. Just a brief update on the North Dakota National Guard, and also on the and some of the airmen from the Minot Air Force Base. Right now, we are continuing to be involved in the Quick Reaction Force project mission. You know, whenever there's an instance where a levee is being overtopped and breaching, and we can do something to make a difference, our people respond, whether it's with their trucks, sandbags, clay material, or the 1-ton sandbags. This morning, we utilized some of our 1-ton sandbags, placing them from our Black Hawk helicopters to stem the flow of water from that storm sewer. In addition, we continue to build additional levees in areas where we can make a difference, putting up sandbag levees, putting up trap bags and HESCL barriers, and we will do that 24 hours a day as we have for the last several days. We are involved in search and rescue aspect, both with high-wheeled vehicles as well as with our helicopters, and we work hand in hand, quite frankly, with the Sheriff's Department to ensure that, if there is a need for a search and rescue or an evacuation, our resources are available. The other thing, of course, and I've mentioned this before, is the security of the evacuated area. No one is allowed in to the evacuated area. Our soldiers and our airmen are there preventing people from going in. The only way someone may go in is if it's with one of our soldiers and airmen, and there are certain protocols for that. But the bottom line is we're not allowing anyone in. And of course, you see traffic control points all across the city that are manned by soldiers and airmen. In total, we've got just shy of 870 men and women from the North Dakota National Guard, soldiers and airmen from all across the state. On top of that, we have been working very closely with the wing commander at the Minot Air Force Base, and they have about 130 of their airmen working with our soldiers and airmen in a team team effort, a unified effort to provide the support to the city, to the county, and communities up and down the river. So you'll see approximately 1,000 men and women, outstanding young men and women in uniform throughout the community. I've mentioned before, we continually do aerial reconnaissance, taking photographs from the air, taking videos from the air. You can go to our website, ndguard.com, and you'll see in the lower left-hand corner the YouTube videos, the Flickr photos, and you can see what's happening within that area of evacuation and near the river itself. Just briefly addressing two items from the standpoint of the Department of Emergency Services. We continue to have the 24-hour hotline. That's 1-877-212-0316. I'd ask anyone and everyone who has not called that number to do so, to make sure we have you put into the database so that when and hopefully soon we're successful in getting an individual assistance declaration, that database will populate the FEMA database, and we'll be able to move forward. And then lastly, the governor and Dr. McLean talked about the stress and anguish of what's taking place right now. The 211 hotline is manned 24 hours a day. If you have any issues, anything that you need to discuss with someone, please just dial 211. Thank you.
Thank you, General. And now from the Corps of Engineers, Lieutenant Colonel Bergman.
Thank you, Mayor. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Quick update from the Army Corps of Engineers. As was stated by the Mayor, a little good news in sight. It appears that Sherwood has crested for this event. The readings are starting to go down, and because of that, right now we held the release from Lake Darling at 24,000 cubic feet per second overnight and through the day. This afternoon we will increase that to 25,000, but we should be able to hold it at 25,000 through the event. And what does that mean to the city of Minot and the cities and townships downriver? It looks like the crests will be about 26,000 to 27,000 cubic feet per second coming through the area. Additionally, because we continue as a Corps, we continue to fight in Minot, the Broadway road, with raising the levee, reinforcing the levee, and also fighting the one storm sewer failure this morning. Support from the Guard and our contractors are working there. But we're also now able to reallocate our contractors downriver. We're almost about 90% complete in Sawyer. Should be complete today or early tomorrow. And we're reallocating additional contractors to the town of Velva to complete their levees. Velva is approximately 40% complete throughout, and by tomorrow afternoon or the next day, they should be 100% complete. And that'll give them protection for about 4 days when the crest hits Velva, 3 days when it hits Sawyer. So the Corps and our contractors continue to fight and support the city, focusing right now on the Broadway bridge and the levee protecting that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Then I would like our fire chief, C.J. Craven, to just, we're constantly making sure that we have emergency services in place, and C.J. is here to bring us up to date on that.
Good afternoon. We have opened a rescue operations center at Fire Station Number 1. It's manned by FEMA, Cass County Sheriffs, National Guard, Air Force, and Minot Fire Department. It is coordinating all land, water, and air search and rescue missions. We have 3 teams in place, 1 team at Fire Station 1, 1 team at Fire Station 3 on North Hill, 1 team in Burlington. All of the teams consist of at least 3 airboats. The airboats are provided by Cass County Sheriff's Department, Grand Forks, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and the flat-bottomed motorboats have been provided by North Dakota Game and Fish. Also with each one of these teams is a North Dakota Guard evac unit with each has 2 high-wheeled vehicles and a Humvee. And embedded in each team is a Minot firefighter to provide directions, someone who knows the city to help them get around. We've also coordinated with the air with the 2 Blackhawks and I believe 2 Hueys. We have installed radios at Fire Station 1 to give ground-to-air communications. We've assigned a specific search and rescue frequency to this operation, and we've given it to all the units that are participating, so we have a good communications plan in place. The fire department itself has split its assets to the North Hill and South Hill stations. There's 2 pumpers available at each station and an aerial device on each hill in order to make sure that we have protection on both hills in the event of any emergency. Thank you.
Thank you, CJ. We're all fighting this fight, but we know when we begin to clean up and fix up and work together to bring this city back to what it was, we're going to need help. And for that reason, I want to commend the Minot Area Community Foundation on setting up a foundation, and I'd like to call on Ken Kitzman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly, we have created the Minot Area Recovery Fund. Our focus, in fact, is going to be just that, on getting people back into their homes once the hype is gone, the cameras are gone. The fact is our citizens are going to be left trying to get through this disaster, and it is our hope that we can do that. We've infused that fund with $250,000 out of our foundation. We have contacted some other funding partners. We expect within the next 10 to 2 weeks that we will have that at $1 million, plus the local donations that are already coming in. These funds will, like the governor said, be used locally through Ward County, Renville County, Bottineau County, and McHenry County. So we will literally use the Mouse River Basin for the funding of those. All support will go through local nonprofits, which includes churches, organizations, and even government entities when we get those disbursements out. The first phase will be obviously to raise the funds, and then we will transition over to getting the distributions out to individuals, and that really is our focus here, is to get it into the hands of people that need it the most to get their lives started again. You can contact us, and please try to remember this, at centerforcommunitygiving.com, centerforcommunitygiving.com. And our telephone, all of our information is on our website. You can, like Kevin, we can take credit card donations or you can mail them in. If you have questions, please call us. The number is 852-0646. Almost gave my home number. 852-0646. That would have been a disaster.
Could you repeat it again?
No. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our promise is to do everything we can to help those in need. And I know we can't probably do it to the nth degree, but we're going to do whatever we can to help organizations and individuals make a difference and get back to their whatever regular life there is now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. I'd open it up for questions now.
Mr. Mayor, could you address...
One moment. Here we go.
Could you address the nature of the rescues? Were they people who refused to leave or other circumstances? Is the police chief here, or maybe...
I think yes, I think the fire chief can handle that one.
Answer that for us.
Most of the boat operations to this point have consisted of welfare checks and people who have just gotten stranded. We haven't had to go in and rescue anyone who has not left their house at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Gene?
In true North Dakota fashion, even though we haven't reached the crest yet, a lot of people have accepted their fate, and I'm already getting questions about recovery. A lot of you people up there have helped many other communities, many other times. And if you can just walk us through the process, you know, people are wondering how long after the water recedes in the worst hit areas, how long will it be before we can even go in and start cleaning up? How long does it take to clean up a house and what happens to them in the meantime. So kind of a timeline and just what can we expect?
Who would be best equipped to answer that?
The recovery effort. Yes, sir. The recovery effort, and thanks for the opportunity to do this. Just real short, though, I would like to say, as most of the team here, from the mayor on down, from the governor to the North Dakota Emergency Services, FEMA is just a part of that team. And FEMA, as we support that team, has been in those SAR and rescues, in those support to the sheltering with the Red Cross, but we're just a part of that team. Now, in the recovery portion, as you're saying, we are going to, again, partner with the state. And how does it start? It starts with the individual assistance that we've talked about. And that, as the Senator Conrad said this morning, it doesn't get you whole. That individual assistance and the grant that it gives you is there to help you get by so you can be in a housing area or apartment or in your home where it's safe to live. So that $30,300 grant, as it may be, that's to help you as you get from insurance, as you get from any other type of insurance, anything that subsidize your home to help you move forward. That part is not to help you get whole, but to help you. And as far as the housing, I understand that this area was short of housing even before this happened. The state has a housing, along with us as FEMA, has a housing plan that we're looking at, whether it be travel trailers, whether it be manufactured homes. That's to be decided. We have to work with the city, we have to work with the county, and we have to work with the state to make sure where will we put those homes. We can't put it in a floodplain. Where will we set up those homes, and where would they be needed? And so it's going to be a complete effort across from the local, county, state, and federal, and across the board in federal partners. It's not just FEMA, it's not just the state, it's the federal government, all partners. We're looking for that whole community concept when we're talking here. Mr. Fugate, my boss, Secretary Napolitano, my boss, they talk about the whole community concept. That concept is not just the state government, the local government, county government, but the private sector. Also the partners in volunteer agencies. We, as FEMA, we want to bring on those volunteer agencies, but we need to coordinate with those agencies so we don't make a disaster within a disaster. You know, we may have too much things out here that the folks may not need. You don't need flip-flops, you don't need these kind of things. You need places to stay, you need cots, you need food, you need water, you need these things. So we need that to be coordinated. And always it's good to give money.
Well, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
We've heard a couple of numbers tossed around today. You mentioned $33,300. I believe that's the top amount that a person can get with FEMA. But then Senator Conrad also said something like $7,000 or $8,000.
Oh, and that's a part of that. That is a part of that. That the average across the country, you know, in Alabama, Mississippi, Joplin, all where disasters occur, the average grant that a person gets once they are eligible, once they inspect their homes, once you go down from what insurance gives, what's other things that taken away from that, the average grant has been about $8,000, $8,000 to $7,000.
And then if somebody could follow up on the actual, how long does it take to clean up a house? What is that like?
Yes, sir.
No idea what that's like.
Well, you've heard a lot about what government's going to do, and here in North Dakota, we want to know what we do. And quite frankly, here's the most frustrating thing, is you can't do anything until the water goes down.
How long is that?
You tell me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that is a challenge, and, you know, so there's so much uncertainty, but again, the first things first, the water's got to go down. So when the water gets down, then you have to go in and assess your damage. And again, whether your water is in your basement or in your first floor or how high up it gets, I mean, those are decisions that really, until this is over, you don't know. But again, in typical situations, I'd highly recommend everyone to keep track of your receipts, keep track of kind of what you're spending. And I don't say that you're going to get fully reimbursed for those things, but a lot of things happen so fast right now, and you're doing things and you're forgetting what you're doing, so keep that in track. But what you have to do, again, is get your house cleaned up. Water goes down, clean up your house. One of the big issues is mold. I mean, that's a huge issue. What a lot of people end up doing is taking their sheetrock off, again, in their basement. It depends how high it gets. I said earlier, if it hits the front, if the joists on the front, floor, I mean, that's a whole nother set of problems. And so there'll be, you get it cleaned up, you'll get a contract, you'll get people in there to give you some estimates and bids. And I'm sure the city's going to be extremely helpful with that, because you need to know. And the tough thing in this deal is, again, what's your mortgage? What's the value of your house? What's the value of your house long term? And I think what's so important here, again, typical North Dakota style, that we're way ahead. We haven't hit the crest yet. But what's really critical in my mind is that we establish long-term confidence in the community that here's where you can build and your home will be safe. Here's where you can build and your business will be safe. Because if we can instill that in the community, then the value of your home's not going to take a shellacking right now. It'll maintain its value. Then you'll have the confidence of putting more money in repairing your home. And so, again, not to belabor the point, but in practicality, there's just a lot of work ahead. It's a marathon. And so, I'm just, and there's, again, a lot of websites and people can help with that. But again.
Okay, I just would like to call on Lisa Clute from 1st District Health Unit to maybe answer that question. As Congressman said, we're used to doing things, helping our neighbors out and helping each other out, and it's going to get down to that again. We can't solely rely on federal help for sure. So, Lisa?
Just for the community's information, 1st District Health Unit has contacted specialists that will be coming in on flood cleanup. That's in regards to mold. We'll have information as to what is cleanable, what isn't cleanable, what will need to be destroyed, air quality information, and so forth. Those resources are on their way into the community. Some of those discussions have taken place already. So that information will be available, and we will be putting that out to you when we get to that point in this. So, thank you.
Okay, questions? Yes, sir.
I have 3 easy questions for you. Is anybody doing an analysis of the water for toxins or any kind of environmental issues that may arise from the content of the water that may have been picked up on the way here? That'd be the first question. The second question is, do you have divers in these airboats or other boats who are able to go under the water to look for structural damage or infrastructure damage? The third question is, have any oil company been contacted about contributing to the community fund, and how much have any oil company offered?
I'm not sure I can answer any of those questions. I know that the oil companies have stepped up in other communities. I think we're early on in that process, so it's very difficult to say. But I know that during the flood fight to this point, we've seen many with Halliburton shirts on, or whatever company. I shouldn't single one out. There's been several that have.
No dollar amount has been offered or asked for.
I would.
Yes, we're working on it.
I think the Community Foundation is working on that.
Okay, that's a no.
No, that's not a no. We're working
So far,
on it.
it's a no.
Yeah, but don't say it that way, because that's acting like the oil companies won't do something. And I think they will be willing to do something in this community. They've been very good as they've moved in.
Do you have divers on the boats?
Both the Minot Fire Department and Ward County have dive teams. We have probably 20, 25 divers available. We are not putting divers on the boats at this time. There's no need to be diving in the river at this time. It's extremely dangerous. If the situation comes up where we need divers, we have them available.
I was reminded that one of the oil companies gave up 25 rooms that they had already paid for to individuals that needed housing. I was unaware of it. I was just told by our city manager. And what was the other question?
It was, have you done an analysis of the water for any sort of pollutants that may have entered it and is coming into?
I know that we are, maybe CJ can, go ahead.
Oh, if he knows anything.
CJ? Do you have the answer?
I just. And I know the State Health Department is working on the issue. I know what I was going to talk about is in town before as we had some time to prepare for the flood, we had our people go through, talk to the service stations, talk to the people that store hazardous materials within the valley, have them make sure that their tanks were prepared. And actually, in most cases with gasoline tanks, you try to fill them and seal them so they won't float. And we went to all the hazardous materials businesses and asked them to get their product up out of the water. And I think most of this was accomplished. But as the governor was going to say, I believe the State Health Department will be testing the water.
Go ahead. Lisa, do you have?
We are testing water supplies. Our lab is checking all of the water supplies, drinking water, everything at this point that is safe, and so we will continue to do that.
Okay, next.
Mr. Mayor, can you or the National Guard explain a little bit more about the problems at 3rd Street and with that storm sewer, I think it was blowout, are we going to see more problems like this in the future with infrastructure and utilities?
Army Corps is working on that area, so I'll let you answer.
Thank you, Mayor.
What happened at 3rd Street there off of Broadway on the west side is the storm drains that run under the streets. On the west side of the levee, where the water was coming up, it was forcing water down into the storm drain. And that storm drain then ran east under our levee and came up on the Broadway side at the base of the levee. And as that water was being forced under, it started eroding away on the levee. In conjunction with the National Guard and our contractors, we quickly got sandbags there to cap it initially. And then but the water kept coming through because it was higher on the west side. We installed or are currently doing what's called a ring dike, which is basically just a horseshoe that ties in around that area to the levee. And we'll build it up to the same height as the levee, and it'll allow the water to come through until it equalizes on both sides of the levee. And then it won't come through anymore. Water tends to equalize. Working with the city, they're going through and reassessing theirs and capping the storm drains off using different techniques. And so far in that area or anywhere else around the city or outside, we have not seen any inundation through the storm sewers.
Is this a problem we might see as we continue with this high water? And then can you assess the situation and the health of the water treatment plant with all the water in that area?
The water treatment plant continues to be protected. Right now, I've been away from the office. I don't know what the current height of the elevation of the water is, but even if it gets to 1564, the estimated crest, we are protected. It is protected at 1570. And we also have a contractor that is on site, standing by in the event of any needed repairs or what. I have a contractor at that location 24 hours a day. Are we going to see this anywhere else? Potentially not, because once the water gets to its high ground as it's coming up, the water will equalize. So if you're on higher ground, the water will not go uphill through the storm drains. It may go laterally, mainly in the Broadway area, because there's a hole in the water there that we've created and are holding back. And that's where, working with the city, they are focusing on that area and other low areas like that.
Mr. Mayor.
Harry?
Let me go quick with Lieutenant Colonel Bergman. Sorry, sir, you had said that you had kind of percentages for where we were in Sawyer and Velva. Can you offer a percentage for where we're sitting here on the secondary dike in Minot?
For the Broadway, we're, I'd say, almost 80% to 90% complete. We're mainly focusing on the east end of the levee now, down the railroad tracks east of Broadway. I don't have the exact locations. We're continuing to raise that up, but we're just working up and down it to now. We originally had it to 1564, and when we began the raises, so those areas that are higher, we're reallocating forces based on the new crest that we believe, and that's how we're reallocating forces to keep that going.
So are we looking at possible completion tomorrow then, if we're at that 80 to 90%? That's pretty close.
I mean, we should be. As an estimate, we will be through, or our estimate is before the crest gets here, we will be able to raise it before the crest gets here.
I just want to mention that that crest did go down today by a foot, which helps a lot on a temporary dike, so that was important news. Gene?
Got one more small report from the Highway Patrol now.
Does he want, you want to say?
Yeah, wait, I'll introduce him.
Okay. Gene?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Rumors could be the death of us, and so I want to give you the opportunity to address one. There's been a couple of folks that have said that there is a rumor that XL Energy is concerned about their ability to continue providing power, and I'm hoping that you've heard that and that you have an answer to that.
I talked with the XL people. I don't see any here, but I talked to them yesterday, and their only concern was, and they never talked about us not having power. I want to say that first, but they said they, with not knowing how much current we might have, they were had some concerns of how to get to their poles if they happen to go over and they're in the water. So we've talked about if that should happen. Hopefully it won't, but working with the Guard and with the fire, with the emergency services to have a way to get to those poles.
I should be more educated on what goes on at the XL Energy plant on 16th Street. Is that an area that, if it were flooded, would cause a problem? I actually don't even know enough about the operation.
I think you've stumped me there. I don't think that would shut out the service. That's their offices. I know there's important things there, but Dave, they moved from there. So that answers it.
Can you,
Harry?
kind of a follow-up to Don's question earlier today about the railroad, and you indicated that maybe there was some wanting to work with the railroad to do something and didn't quite get the cooperation you were looking for. Can you kind of expound on that a little bit? Was it, obviously, it was possible you wanted to do it. I would think vital. Were you disappointed in what company that was? If you could tell us that as well.
It was, I can tell you, it was CP Rail. It's an area over just off of the 3rd Street Viaduct. And as we went over it by helicopter today, you could see that there was debris there, backing water up. We're concerned there could be as much as, I've heard, 2 feet difference in one side of that bridge to the other. So we are concerned about it. We didn't get the help, and now we can't get to the rail even if we wanted to.
So it's too late now? I mean, even if they...
It's too late.
Tell your thoughts about that. I mean,
well,
frustrating?
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Kurt, just...
Sure.
Mayor Zimmelman, as some new information has come in, I'd like to introduce Captain Gary Orluck with the North Dakota Highway Patrol. Got some information about roads.
Thank you, Governor and Mayor Zimmelman. If anybody's been out and about on the highway system in and around Minot, it's very frustrating. And I'd like to give some information to hopefully try and alleviate some of that. And first of all, we had an event this afternoon where Highway 2 at the Mouse River, we had to close it because of water over the roadway. And so the westbound lane of Highway 2 at the Mouse River is closed. So in effect, what that means is that anybody coming in from Highway 2 east of Minot, heading westbound, effectively the only way to get to the south end of Minot is through the 83 bypass. What this has created is a tremendous traffic jam. A half hour ago, we had traffic backed up from Beams, the lighted Beams truck stop, all the way to the 83 north bypass. 4 miles of traffic that was backed up because we're trying to funnel all north-south traffic coming from the north of Minot, also from the east of Minot on the 83 bypass. Not only frustrating, but also a dangerous situation for emergency response. If we have to get an ambulance, fire truck, police highway patrol units responding to any of these areas, it's very difficult. So I'm asking and pleading with the public that only very essential traffic go on Highway 83 bypass. You know, the south end of Minot, you can go south of Minot, you can go west of Minot, and you know, that area is fine, but we are having a tremendous amount of problems on the 83 bypass.
Captain Orland?
Yes.
How about the Highway 2 east bypass? Is that still an accessible artery?
At which area?
Going around and hitting Highway 2 going east?
Yes.
You can still go that direction?
Yes, Highway 2 east is still open, the eastbound.
So that you could come into the northeast part of the city?
Yes, you can.
From that direction?
The eastbound lane is still open. The westbound lane is closed. I don't know how much longer the eastbound lane is going to be open, but water is rising very quickly in that area, so listen to the news, everybody, before you take that route.
And on, when you go that direction, how far out is the water on East Burdick? Could you come down on Burdick to County Road 19 and go north, or is that blocked at this point?
I would recommend that East Burdick be just extremely East Burdick traffic only, the very east end of it. There is a possibility you can go up, if you live in that area, in northeast Minot, to go up County 12A by Trading Post and go north up to Minot Milling and come in that way. That is a route that you can get if you're in a non-evacuation zone or an emergency situation. So.
In that case, could you provide us with maps?
Yes.
It would be wonderful if you could put that on a website, then everybody knows where they're going, and we're not going to be making wrong turns.
Yeah, and I appreciate that question because I wanted to bring that up. We are in the process of working with the Department of Transportation and state DES and putting together a map accessible by the public that'll be kept updated that will show not only state highways but also county roads as well, because a lot of these are going to be variables that are changing. So I was told about a half hour ago that we're hoping within a short amount of time, I'm talking a day or two maybe, to have that map accessible.
And when it is accessible, where can we find it?
That will be put out in a news release.
All right.
We'll give them.
Thank you. And the Highway Patrol is another agency that's been outstanding during this time. And, you know, there are so many agencies that we need to thank, and that's why I really haven't tried to do that at this time. But thank you, Dan. Okay, any other questions? And what he was talking about, I think 12A to a lot of us is 55th Street, so that's something that you can relate to.
Excuse me, being that we now have some of the water that's outside of the channel, a lot of the water obviously is outside of the channel, has it started to have a lot of flow? Is it performing how you would expect it would outside of that channel? I know you said as it gets higher, it's going to be going fast in the channel, but now that we've spilled out, is it moving as fast as you thought, slower than you thought, or do we have to wait until it kind of fills up the entire valley before it starts to do that?
Well, it is performing as we expected. You know, as the levees began to overtop, the areas in behind were just filling up. And until they're full, it's not going to flow any faster. The main course is through the, you know, between the levees. It is, you know, it's moving slowly on the outside, but it's not a significant amount at all. You know, it's not until everything is equalized that we'll see that more uniform flow from one end of the valley to the other, one end of the city to the other.
So it just hasn't started?
No, not in any significant manner.
a question for Colonel Bergman.
Colonel?
Thank you. Just wanted to return to the numbers that you were mentioning earlier that you think when the crest occurs would be between 26 and 27,000.
Approximately, yes.
Okay.
Are you talking about here in Minot?
Right.
Yes.
Right. Is there a way to help people understand sort of what those numbers mean in terms of what effect that will have, what damage it might do? How can we illustrate that so people are clear on what that means?
I mean, as far as amount, as you can see, it's over, not quite 2.5 times more than what was here a week ago, going through the city. For damage, I mean, it's hard to say that once a structure is underwater, you know, the damage that will be, but the inundation is the main damage, just that water damage. Until the water completely recedes is when we can go in and assess any damage that was caused by it. There's really no way to assess it during the event.
It comes about 2.5 times the amount that was going through a week ago.
For volume, previously it was at 9,000 cubic feet per second, and we'll be up at 26,000 cubic feet per second.
Yeah, we're at 16,000 right now, so we've got a ways to go. And anyone that watched the river today saw that those releases did take place at Lake Darling. There's no question now.
Just want to clarify just a piece of that. The estimated release from the dam will be 25,000 cubic feet per second. The expectation through the city of Minot is 26,000 cubic feet per second. And the important thing to look at more than anything is what that river level will be. Right now, the forecast is that the river level will be between elevation 1563 and 1564. And just to put that into perspective, the river right now is just below 1568. It's about 59.5, a little bit higher probably by now. But what that means is that there'll be between we'll say roughly 3.5 to 4.5 foot rise over and above where the main course of the river is as we speak.
Thank you. Very good. Anyone else? If not, I want to thank you for being here, and we'll have another press conference tomorrow. I do not know what time for sure yet.
Again, that's Mayor Percival, officials.
Okay, that was a very informative session. That was good. Let's schedule one for midnight. Let's schedule one for midnight.
Minot Mayor Kurt Zimbelman talking to us today about what's going on, along with all of the other folks who are helping out in that throughout the course of that press conference. We can look at the group again as they're breaking up down there. I was just waiting for a chance to start talking there, and the mayor talked about many things today, including, for a change, a little bit better news in the form of what we were expecting in the river's level. The mayor told us that the new crest has been dropped by just a little bit, down about a foot or so, as now the National Weather Service is predicting a crest of between 1563 and 64. So that means 1563.5 is what the Weather Service then picks. Well, actually, they go 1563.6 is what they're saying right now as a crest prediction. And it's expected to come sometime Saturday night and then move on for about 3 to 4 days at about that level at 1563.6, expected to be there by about 8 o'clock Saturday night and be there through Thursday noon, essentially, within a tenth of a foot or so. So it's a long period of time that the river will be at that 63.6 level, according to these estimates. And just to remind you, there was a time, remember, not like a couple of days ago, when we were told that the crest was going to be 7 feet higher than it was back in 1969. Well, if this crest hits, the fact is this will be 8 feet higher than it was back in 1969, because the 69 crest was 1555.4, and so we're looking now at 1563.6. The mayor also talked about the fact that they are concerned about thunderstorms that could develop over the Des Lacs River Valley in the next day or two. He said that the city is going to do everything possible to keep Broadway open, and he is asking people to not travel if it is not essential. Please do not travel if it's not essential. We have a lot of pictures and video and things like that to show. As soon as we have the new helicopter video, would you please let me know, and we'll roll that immediately. We have video coming from the Black Hawk helicopters that was taken back at about 1:30 or 2, around in that time frame. So we're ready to show you that pretty soon. We showed you a short version of it just before the press conference started. And also any of the other most recent video that we have in, let's just roll it. I don't have any idea what it is, but let's roll the most recent video that we have. And we'll get that, or photos that we have. Is this new helicopter video, or is this is the original one? And also we have, I think, some pretty good photos that have been coming in. Well, right now, though, we'll look at the 83 bypass, which is what you're seeing there. And obviously, we're looking at just amazing footage as the work goes on to try to make sure that it will be maintained as a viable north-south route. That is very important to the ability for the city to get around during this situation, because we have Broadway, and other than that, this is it. So that is important. We are now headed back up, and I think we'll see Teresita Vallejo on the left here coming up, and that's true. We're looking at that area right now, and you can see the road that goes into there. It curves around to the right. Normally it curves around to the left, but it's totally underwater now from that point, and so are all of the homes, inundated by water. That bridge there supporting the railroad structure is taking a beating right now. And we move on next to an area in southwest Minot. The thing to just keep an eye out for is on some of these homes, we have a situation where the water is up almost to the top of the first level. So the water has reached up to the top of the first level of many homes that we are looking at here, and it certainly is in the 4 feet level in many of the other homes. We're in Oak Park here with all the wooded areas here that you see, and there's Oak Park Shopping Center there at the top of your screen. And you can see water is significantly up the side of Oak Park Shopping Center, 3-4 feet high there. This was a few hours ago, so we've experienced a continued rise. You see the most recent number on the top of your screen. It is updated for you. And we continue the tour. You see the MSU Dome in the distance, so we're looking at the Ramstead School area here on the right side of your screen. And boy, folks, living near Ramstead School, obviously, just like everyone, just devastated by what's going on here. I mean, you look at these pictures and you feel a little bit detached, or at least I feel a little bit detached. It's easy to just say, well, they're just pictures of a house underwater, but then you remember that every one of these homes, has a story, and inside every one of those homes are, hopes and dreams and, plans for the future. And we are just all here to say that we hope that we can all work together to make sure that those hopes and dreams for the future are realized, with the help of neighbors and friends and relatives who are here to help us get through this, because all of those stories are important to be told, and we want to make sure that they live on and do tell those stories. You see the Minot State University campus there. Laura Manor is on the right at the top, and there's the church just across the street from it. We're now looking back kind of southwest, more or less, across Broadway, or across that big dike that's being built. That secondary dike is right in the middle of the screen right now, and you can see the work that is still going on it. Whether it can handle another 5 feet of water, that's to be determined, I guess. There's Ramstead again now, the front door entry of Ramstead School. Of course, the football field and the athletic field is all covered up by water, as you would expect. Looking at the downtown area, looking north to south, and you can see how things look there, where the river kind of normally running, cutting through there from right to left. The walking bridge is there. We just lost 3rd Street Bridge on the left side of the screen, just went out of the screen. And this is where, there's plenty of spreading out of the water going on. We're now looking at the Broadway Bridge. There's Ike Keating Furniture World. That white building on the bottom just went out of the screen. That's the one that we've seen so many times on that live shot from Keating's. Now we're into the, okay, so we're finished with that video, but we do have new video that'll be coming in soon. This is the newest 3rd Street video that we have. And you'll see how they've maybe successfully channeled that water through there. They removed those barriers that had been put in place, and are now just allowing the water to run through there. So the idea here is to try to get it to channel through here and keep it out of some other area that they don't want it in. Look how deep the water is on those trucks that are going through, turning at Cenex there, turning just by Val's Cyclery at the corner of Central Avenue and 3rd Street. Check the depth of the water on the tires of those big trucks as they bring in the needed fill for continued dike work somewhere in the downtown area. A very telling shot right there. Now we're down on ground level here. Look at the car on your left. The water is way up on that. There's that credit union in the distance there. There again is that Central and 3rd intersection. And then the Brick Studio there. We're looking at that right there. And you see now swinging back up, kind of looking northwest. And there's the railroad tracks in the foreground, looking to the northwest and turning farther north there. Check out this activity. Plenty of water on top of the cars and dumpster there. There's the Renaissance Center where they were taking out some of those special barriers that had been put in. Also, there's a helicopter going by behind. That's about when we were up in the air, probably, getting a tour of the area. And there's Val's Cyclery on the left, and the water creeping up. I walked through this area this morning at 9 o'clock without any problem at all. There was no water until right up at the base of the 3rd Street Bridge. So things have changed significantly there. You see this business hoping to keep the water out with those sandbags. We'll hope it works, although the problem is we're looking for a few, 3-4 feet more water before this is over. And I guess with our current level sitting at 1559.83 and a crest expected to be 1563.6, we're looking at, another 4 feet of height on the river in the next few days. A very fast rise expected in the river. We're expected to get to 1563 by 4 a.m. tomorrow. So we're now not quite at 1560. So we're looking for a 3-foot plus rise in the river over the course of the next 23 hours. So think about that, 3 feet higher in just, a very few number of hours, about 11 hours or so. Did I say 23? I meant 11. In the next 11 hours, it will rise 3 feet, according to the National Weather Service. And you continue to see the activity going on here on 3rd Street as these trucks come by and try to get the gravel that's needed and the clay that's needed to the various places. A lot of places, Mike, let's use the Burlington story that we just got in from Kate here. We'll take folks out to that Burlington area. You see some of the folks running to take care of details that need to be worked out, some of the guard people. There again is a shot of the Brick Studio area. And some debris heading downstream. I'm not sure. Yeah, we can keep this going. I'm not sure what that is. What is that? Just a big piece of wood, huh? Okay. Very big piece of wood. See that car? Did we see that earlier and it got deeper while you were there? Yeah, because we could see more of that car just a little while ago, and now it's, it got deeper there.
This is up in the Parker Center.
We're up on the Parker Center here, looking out over what's going on, and a little fuzzy on the window there, maybe, or else did your lens fog up, maybe?
We're shooting through a screen.
Yeah, shooting through a screen, okay. But it gives you a good view of what's going on down below. There's the 3rd Street Viaduct itself. And the folks walking across it, no doubt, from, I suspect, the National Guard. There you are looking at it again on the Parker Center from up above. Over the water, out of the kind of the left will be the Broadway Bridge. There's the railroad bridge. There's the Integrity Mutual Fund building, I believe. And so that kind of wraps up that tour of downtown in the last couple of hours. Lots of people have been fighting this flood for so long, months in many cases. In the city of Burlington, we always had a sense that they were going to keep on, no matter what. And they certainly did keep on no matter what, but they finally had to give up this part of the flood fight overnight. Kate Schell shows us what happened.
First started out at the 11,000, and we sat down and talked about it, and we said, yeah, we can build it up to that. And it went to 13. Yeah, we can do that. Then it went to 17, and we were kind of contemplating it. we figured, well, if we went this far, there's no sense stopping now. So we said, okay, we're going to try for 17. Then it went to 20. We sat back and thought about it, and we said, yep, we're just going to keep going. We're going to build it until it's not safe to do it.
While they had hoped that time would never come, crews realized Thursday it was no longer safe to keep fighting the flood.
It's kind of like somebody slapped me. I mean, it's just like a big slap in the face. I mean, but like everybody said, we did what we could do. We fought it as hard as we could.
Public Works Director Carter Lessman says as hard as it was to pull people off the dikes, it's something that had to be done.
It just wasn't safe to be on the dike, and I wasn't going to put anybody's life at risk to try and save a house. So we pulled everybody off, and we did it at just the right time. I mean, we stopped bagging. We were bagging with the water. As the water was coming up, we were keeping up and just ahead of it. Within 2 hours after we pulled off the dike, we had a breach in there.
Volunteers worked 24 hours a day for days on end building up the levee. They were able to add more than 650,000 sandbags to the structure in under a week.
I think everybody in town that was physically capable of lifting a sandbag or filling one, they were here doing it. I mean, and bringing food in, it was just unbelievable. And without them, we wouldn't have got anywhere close to where we made it today. And had the projections not changed today, I still feel we could have held it back. But with what they went to, it was something we weren't gonna mess with.
That's Kate Schell reporting there from Burlington. And did you hear what they said there? Well, she said some 650,000 sandbags were filled and placed in the Burlington area in the run-up to what ended up to be the not quite good enough effort there. But man, what an effort it was, because so many people, as he mentioned, just about anybody who had the strength to lift a sandbag did. And the response from the folks in the way of volunteering was just spectacular in the Burlington area. And we're sorry to say that it did not work out. People are still trying to save some of their homes, and the city is working on some drains and manhole covers too. But in general, Burlington succumbed to the Mouse River during the night, overnight, and now into today. It's kind of the same story throughout the city of Minot as well. You know, so much effort was put into trying to hold back the river and keep it inside the banks by building up those banks. But in the end, the river has won the battle to get into the neighborhoods. The slow rise is going on in those neighborhoods. Perry this morning or this afternoon asked the question of the Corps of Engineers official about, and Dave Sprincenatic ended up answering it, the Adjutant General. The question was, are we starting to see the flow going through the neighborhoods? And I think his answer was no, not yet. We're expecting, he said, once it is completely filled throughout the valley, then we'll start to see the flow of the river channel be almost duplicated by outside the river channel. Not duplicated, but it will be getting higher. It'll be slowed down by the houses and trees and things like that, but it still will be flowing through those areas. And that's unfortunate, because of course that just means there's a bigger chance for bigger damages to those homes. A big question at the press conference that was talked about was FEMA. What kind of FEMA help might be available? And again, that was talked about. And it was talked about in a little bit more, clarity again, clearing up even more than what we got at the 1:30 press conference, talking about the maximum of $30,000 being available to individuals. And the gentleman from FEMA pointed out that the money is designed to help people who have been displaced by the flood to deal with their expenses that they're incurring while they wait to get back in their home. And it's not an effort to rebuild homes or anything like that. It's a bridge fund, if you will, to keep you to take you from where you are now to where you can get back into a safe place to live, is I believe how he put it. And as far as the home itself, values of that, I mean, those are questions yet to be answered. We know that there are low interest loan programs, and we suspect there may be some sort of state and or local effort there to try to help people out. Another thing that's being done to try to help people out is the Minot Area Community Foundation. The Ken Kitzman from the MACF talked about how you can help with that. He said, we have a graphic for this one. It's the centerforcommunitygiving.com, and you can go there and donate to the Community Relief Fund, the Flood Relief Fund, and it has been seeded with $250,000 by the Minot Area Community Foundation. Mr. Kitzman said he expects fully to see that fund equal $1 million very soon, and he thinks it will just keep growing as more people learn about it. And he said it will be administered by nonprofit agencies, and it will be administered in such a way as to help those who are most in need receive the most. So that will be something that we'll be keeping, I'm sure, a close track of over time here, because that fund is likely to grow large over time. It will be an effort, I'm sure, that knowing Ken, that he will put everything into and will be successful at. And by that I mean he'll be successful at bringing in a very large amount of money. They started out with $250,000, and he said they easily expect to reach $1 million soon, and that number will probably grow. Well, we'll be back as we continue our look at this Flood Fight 2011, and we'll have more for you live. And we say thanks to the New York Times for this photo, kind of the photo of today. And we'll be back with more on KX News in just a moment. From KX News in high definition, this is a special report on Flood Fight 2011. The country is with us. Americans are deeply impressed with how North Dakotans have responded to this flood of 2011 here in North Dakota, in the north central part of the state. That's how Senator Kent Conrad told us about what he's hearing about how our part of the U.S. of A. has been dealing with this awful flood, the worst flooding in the history of the Minot area, and the worst flooding ever all along the Mouse River. And that includes all the way from Sherwood down through Burlington and Minot and into Logan and Sawyer and Velva and Towner and Bantry and West Hope. Every spot along the river is recording all-time record highs this year during this flood fight. We received a slight bit of good news today at the press conference, and that was that the slightly lower crest is now predicted. And I think we have a full screen graphic on this, Mike. I'm not sure if I warned you about this or not, but the full screen shows us the crest is now expected to be by about 8 p.m. on Saturday at 1563.6. That's about a foot lower than the earlier crest, okay? So, but here's how it's supposed to rise, because right now we are sitting at a level of 1559.83. 1559, I'm just updating to see if we have another new one, because it's very close to the time that we usually get a new one in. No, we don't have it yet, but we're at 1559.83. So let's just round it and say we're at 1560. We're expected to be at 1563 by 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. So 3 feet higher within the next 11 hours. That is a very, very fast rise, and the kind of rise that does damage to the levees and can do much damage to everything in the path. And then the crest, a little over a half foot higher by the evening hours on Saturday. And that crest of 1563.6 is expected to stay around close to that level, within a tenth of a foot or so, through Tuesday at noon of next week. And then one other note, it is expected to be above 1563 from 1 a.m. Thursday through 1 a.m. next Thursday. So once it gets over the 1563 mark on Saturday, it should stay there for 5 days or so into Thursday, and then drop slowly through July 1st down to about 1562. Of course, all of those numbers are way over the levee system. So, I mean, we're looking at inundation in homes at least through July 1st, according to the projections from the National Weather Service. Just an unfathomably bad and a dire forecast for the people who are losing their properties as we speak. Let's roll the video that we have from up high, which is the Black Hawk helicopter. I hope you have your DVRs going, because this is the long version. We are going to see about 15 minutes of aerial footage right now looking at Minot and Velva and Sawyer and Burlington. We start off in the 83 bypass area. This is an area where I spent quite a bit of time yesterday shooting video. I was down in Teresita Vallejo and got help from Wayne Moe in getting some just stunning shots of the water running over the dike system there. And of course, that just continued during the day yesterday and ended up in the inundation of Teresita Vallejo as we expected. You know, I mean, none of this is unexpected, and yet all of it is just heart-wrenching. It is so awful to watch, and yet you can't take your eyes off it, can you? You know what I mean? It's that odd combination. There's Teresita Vallejo itself. That dike we were looking at was right there, just went out of the picture to the left. And then you see this, it's really inaccessible now. The road is covered up. That railroad bridge looks like it's in some danger. There was water gushing through that. The beautiful green trees are standing up to the water in many places. Here we are out on West Central Avenue in Minot, where it goes and butts up against the river. And all these homes underwater, so many of them. West Central and 16th here, and now we get into Oak Park. So many of these houses have water that is right up to the lower portion of the roof. So, you know, I mean, all we're seeing is the roof structure, basically. And that's the case in so many places. We had national media here, so it was quite a full ride in the helicopter today. There is Oak Park with quite high water there in the Oak Park area. Here's the Seton Drive area northwest, one of the first places to see overtopping of the dikes. We have Minot State University off in the distance there. You see the dome. And then Ramstead Middle School into your picture right there. And man, I just worry about Ramstead. We'll see it again when we swing around, but that dike that is protecting Ramstead doesn't seem like it has another 4 feet on it, or 5, which would be what it means. Look at that house right on the left there. Just went out of the picture. Just the roof is what we see there. That might have been even perhaps, well, I'm not sure what it was. I guess I won't speculate. But another house right below us with pretty much only the roof showing. We now cross over Broadway. In fact, that one there was a business that we saw with just the roof showing. Now we cross Broadway and then look back toward the west, and we'll see that long secondary dike that's being built from Minot State all the way down to the Broadway Bridge and then way out east. You see the secondary dike there. It kind of circles around back into Minot. Subway is just barely protected there by that dike. Now it's coming into view, and we'll turn around and look south along the dike, and you'd be the judge. I'll also look at the houses behind there. Again, totally underwater up to the roof. Now look down that dike. Do you think it can handle another 4 or 5 feet? We certainly hope so, and we know that they're working on it. Now we're back to Ramstead, and you can kind of assess whether you think it has enough to handle another 4 feet of water. That's a big question. Here we are at the Roosevelt Park Pool. You saw the water slide there. Some of the media folks from around the nation are visiting. We ended up in the middle of the scrum there. This is more on the eastern part of the town where the water is just starting to come up and coming up more slowly. There is the Roosevelt Park and the zoo. That's the World War II memorial that just went out of the picture. There's the old Roosevelt Park Zoo building, interpretive building, the railroad engine there, Burdick Expressway East. Now there should be a bridge here. It's totally underwater. You can just make it out there, right there. And a big rush of water coming in from that spot. See, this is when we were just starting to get inundation now in the eastern part of the city. And so, you know, this is where, as we go out toward the state fairgrounds, way off in the distance at the top there, you can see that. And you can see there is a lot of water in that area. There's one of the arched entryways there to the state fairgrounds. And the dike that's been built up around the fairgrounds grandstand, we'll certainly hope that holds. There's the Holiday Inn. And now we kind of jump back toward the downtown area. There's a library top left of your screen. Lincoln School there off to the right. And look at the houses, some of those houses that are just a roof peeking out over the top of the water. Other places with, you know, a couple of stories maybe and a little bit different elevation are faring a little bit better. But it is still not at all a good situation for them. You see now still moving kind of south now, I believe, as we look back to the east a little bit. And I think I see, I'm not sure, Magic City campus back there maybe. I hate to guess because I'm not very good at identifying these things. But more houses that are under a significant amount of water. The Odds Trailer Court area, as I said, that was one spot where the water, okay, that's the Moose Lodge there on the left side of the screen, just about ready to go out of the picture. So, you know, 5th and 6th Avenues are here. where I took some pictures yesterday. That round area is a lift station that has a ring dike around it. There's the big hill where they've been taking dirt from and clay for so long. Now we look south down Broadway, or down 3rd Street toward Minot. 3rd Street Bridge just going out of the picture now. There's the walking bridge and the church right there that's had so much water problems. But I'm trying to look down straight below us to see if we're keeping water out of this area, and it looks like we are. That's that area that might, come out of this okay if this secondary dike does come through. You saw the Broadway Bridge go past, and we're swinging around now looking off to the west a bit. Now we're on 37th Avenue Southeast at East Side Estates, and very much devastation here for the people who live in these areas. We continue farther out now down Highway 52 with one side of the road. Well, we're on the southeast side of Minot. I guess actually the road is still there. Both lanes are okay at this point. The river has now gone up to 1560.13. 1560.13 is the new level, and it's being updated on your screen. 1560.13. First time we've ever been over the level of 1560 in the city of Minot. Some of the trucks going through, the water standing on Highway 52 to the southeast of Minot. And cars inching their way along in that area. Man, that has to be a scary drive. We're coming up on now I'm not sure what we're coming up on. It's easy for me to get lost on these. You see the river there is mainly in its banks as we head toward Logan, but then I'm sure we'll see it start spilling out once again. This trip we did go all the way down to Logan and to Sawyer, and to Velva even, so we saw quite a large area here. This agricultural area out here in the parts of the county southeast of Minot. Notice the river now starting to show its force here as we see at the top of the screen, and now it's spreading out back down toward the railroad tracks here.
How much of the Minot Valley would you say was inundated, Jim? I just came in and kind of caught part of this here.
How much of the...
I mean, if with another 2-foot rise, are there areas untouched now that will be touched, significant areas, or are we pretty much already covered?
I think that most of the valley floor has water on it now. The western areas have more water than the eastern areas. But here we are east of town now. Logan, of course, this is outside of the protection of the dike system at all, so the water had been coming up for a long time here. We're now west of Sawyer moving into town. But, if you look at Minot proper, the west side has more water still than the east side, but I think it's filling up quickly. And pretty soon we'll all have the same amount of water, and the whole valley will be filled up. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It will be filled, and it will be several feet deep in many places. Town of Sawyer here. We have a mandatory evacuation for the town of Velva, right? I gave you that earlier, Joe.
Yep, that's on the top of the screen, correct.
On the top of the screen right now.
North of the railroad tracks, though.
Okay.
Velva north of the railroad tracks.
All right.
Mandatory evacuation.
Meanwhile, they are still working with the Corps of Engineers to raise the dikes. Same in Sawyer. We were told that the effort to raise the dikes in Sawyer is now about 90% finished, and they're about 40% finished with Velva as they keep working their way downstream to try to stay ahead of the rising water. Now we're looking to the southeast from Sawyer down toward Velva. Check out that lake right there.
Amazing, wow.
That is incredible, isn't it?
I don't think I could go on a trip up there. I'm too emotional, and second of all, I can't do camera work very well, so that right there would be...
So you're out of luck then. You don't get to go. Looking down toward Velva there, following along the river. I remember talking with somebody who had been driving up to Minot from Fargo, having not been here for a while in the last few days, and he said it was, shocking once they got to Velva to see that whole valley with all that water in it between Velva and Sawyer and then on into Minot. Still heading toward the Velva area now, and seeing some of the rural homes that are looking at all kinds of water that are involved. And there's the community of Velva. So the people who live on the, what'd you say, north side of the railroad tracks in Velva, Joe?
Turning my mic on, sorry about that. Yeah, on north side of the railroad tracks in Velva, only right now the north side of the railroad tracks.
Are under a mandatory evacuation order by tomorrow at, let's say on your...
tomorrow at, give me one moment here and see if I can find it again.
You see some of the DOT trucks there bringing sand and clay and that sort of thing on the highway there.
Deadline for mandatory evacuation north of the railroad tracks in Velva is by Saturday at 9 o'clock, tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the evening.
9 p.m. Saturday, north of the railroad tracks in Velva for the mandatory evacuation. There's the Velva football field there where we've watched many Aggies teams do well. Sean? Sean's on the sports mic, by the way, guys.
Flip that on.
Go ahead.
I was just called from the EOC, and they actually wanted to make a quick correction about phone numbers to call. To report if you are out of your home, not to call that state hotline, but to call the local flood hotline at 858-9366. They are not taking those reports yet of damage from that state hotline. So
I think we have that on our crawl.
Yeah,
so
that came right from the press conference, as a matter of fact.
Yes,
so that's
but
why
they wanted to correct that.
It was a misstatement.
Got it.
It was a misstatement that they just need that corrected a little bit.
So let me fix that in the crawl and just ignore you saw that for past hour or so.
It sounds good.
I'm crossing it off my list there too. Okay. There's the flood hotline you should call if you've been displaced because of the flooding this year. And look at that water there on that home.
That's the country club.
That's the Minot Country Club, actually. I'm sorry, not the home, but the Minot Country Club clubhouse there. And, you know, you just think about all the work that so many people did trying to save their houses or business like a country club or, you know, their farms and that sort of thing. And then after all that work, we get this. The thing that it always makes me think of, though, is that, and I have a tendency to have that bright outlook, I guess, but it always makes me think, you know, just that this is going to be such an opportunity for people to show what they're made of, to show how they can buckle down. Yeah, we're going to get some help from the federal government. We might get some help from the state government, but we'll help ourselves out of this as well.
It's going to come down to that. I mean, there's going to be a lot of hard decisions to come from many people, everybody who's had this flooding impact them somehow.
That was
pretty much everybody in the valley.
Right. I was thinking about how, you know, there are these 12,000 people evacuated, and when it comes time to start cleaning up and trying to see what you can do to move back in or whatever, once again, it's going to be, I suspect, there's Johnson's home north of Burlington, almost up to the roof now. When it comes time to clean up and start moving back in, you know, we're going to be seeing, I think, the same type of thing we saw when it was time to evacuate. Lots of people coming in to help and offering assistance, and you know, that's the kind of thing it's going to take. We had a mental health expert talking about what people should be doing these days as they deal with the stresses that are related to this. And 211 is the phone number you can call for mental health hotline around the state anytime you need help. We're looking at Burlington now, and we had that story just before this about how the area of Burlington had to kind of give up the fight in the middle of the night last night after fighting so hard for so long.
I'm sorry, as you keep watching this, Carla, thank you. I don't know how we ignored this. I really don't. Pretty strong thunderstorm in northwestern Montreal County.
Oh, okay.
And that's northwest of Stanley. We'll talk about that coming up after this tour.
We'll put the radar up as soon as we're done with our video tour here, the aerial tour of Burlington, where we are right now.
And they were so, I mean, I was out at the press conferences in Burlington, Jim.
Yeah.
They were so, and again, realistically, they were optimistic.
Your spot around there, Mike, somewhere? Oh, okay. Up to the living room window, he said. Okay.
Wow.
Just checking.
Wow.
Our switcher, Mike Heilman, right now. Go ahead. I'm
you know, what's it like? How can you describe? Have you seen your home, Jim?
Yeah, no, I haven't yet.
You know, I can't imagine what that's like to be sitting here watching TV, relying on video to see your house. You know, I mean, because I live on South Hill personally, I can't imagine.
Last night I went to my new home, the Moore home, and oh, really? Just 10. I mean, I don't get to see my home, I guess. See, I get left out. That's the way it goes. I went to my my new home, and the video was frozen when I walked in the door, and it was a shot of our house. And we could see, that the garbage had been picked up. So
it had been.
Outstanding work there by the folks in the city, because the pile in front of my house was gargantuan. And so we saw that. And then we also saw there was something in the driveway, and my wife was convinced it was one of the many stray cats that always come to our house, probably wondering, you know, well, what am I supposed to do? You guys left.
Oh, yeah. I'm an animal lover, though, here, so don't tell me that.
So what do you have going on here?
I wanted to show you, we just got a call, and again, yeah, and, you know, I've been looking over about every half hour. This storm has developed, though, in about the past 15 minutes. And, Jim, any thunderstorms that develop with the heat of the day are going to be ones that sit in one place. Do you notice how that red has been in the same place for about 20, 25 minutes, right there to there?
That, yep.
That's the kind of stuff we're going to see pop up. We've got a little one also up around the Larson Lignite area. And let me zoom out really quick.
I should tell you then that the mayor was a better forecaster here than you were, because the mayor mentioned this at the press conference, that we were worried about you know, the possibility of thunderstorms in the Des Lacs Valley.
But I never said I was
good. I
good,
haven't heard that from you. Yeah. Okay.
I do want to point out, though, and I'll go ahead and highlight this right here. This storm slowly working its way, you know, kind of north-northeast, but it's not moving very fast. So what's going to actually have to happen if we would get a thunderstorm in the valley is we would actually have to have the storm develop there. So if I get my cursor tool up here, we'd actually have to have a storm develop kind of in this area before it would impact the Mouse River Valley, in which, again, I'll highlight
the Des Lacs Valley there.
Yeah, the Des Lacs Valley as well, absolutely. So here's the Mouse River right here running down. That's actually the Des Lacs.
That's the Des Lacs River.
I lied again.
Trying to help you here, Joe.
You're really making a,
There you go. There it is.
Right here.
That's
This is
Lake
the
Darling.
Mouse River Valley.
Down it goes.
Letting my computer catch up to me here drawing.
Yeah.
Apparently I'm just that good of a drawer. It's making it think. And then kind of up in here, you know, through town. That's a terrible drawing of the Mouse River, by the way. It goes farther south here. It kind of goes down there and then up. But anyway.
It goes down to Velva, which is down.
Yeah, I know. Everybody's laughing at me right now, and you know, I wish.
Could we?
That's where we're at right now. So there's no opportunity for me to be with John Madden anytime soon. I'll tell you that much.
By the way, Velva just called. Thank you for keeping them away from the water.
Oh, thank you for keeping them away from the water in Velva. Tom, I'll just give you credit for that since I can't draw. I'll work on that. But Jim, we will watch those storms. If there is something that pops up, there is a better chance for storms and maybe an isolated severe storm tomorrow night and Sunday. Just what we need, right?
Okay. We're also in the process of putting together our kind of expanded 6 o'clock news, which could easily run 90 minutes or more, and we'll have that for you coming up close to 6 o'clock. And then, of course, our 24/7 coverage continues. How much? 24/7.
That's right.
And that will continue throughout the night again tonight as we watch the Mouse River head toward its crest. It is likely to hit its crest by 8 o'clock tomorrow night at 1563.6. There are the figures. It's expected to go to 1563 by 4 o'clock in the morning as you sleep, which means it's going to gain another 3 feet between now and then, about 10 hours from now. And then just another half foot or a little more, something like that, over the course of the day on Saturday as the rise will slow down. So that's what we're expecting.
If the control room is in there, can we go to our...
I hope they are.
Let me think of what cam that would be. That'd be the North Dakota State Fairgrounds camera here.
Holiday Inn.
Holiday Inn, there you go. On camera on top of the Holiday Inn facing the North Dakota State Fairgrounds. I'll let them pull it up here. I've been kind of looking at this here. I've been looking around, and I am going to just tell you the hard truth here about technology. This camera you're looking at is meant for it to be inside, used on Skype, not on building duct tape to a motor.
And it got rained on today.
It got rained on, so my range of motion isn't as good, but I'm going to attempt here to move the camera around a little bit. We're going to move this farther north. We're looking northeast, and I'm going to attempt to move this north here, so excuse the jumpiness here. It'll take just a minute to get there. And we're going to look farther up north here, and you can see all that water, and I'll try to move it so that time and temp is out of the way, so you can keep that up even. But there you go. That's where Burdick starts to turn back toward the west as you're heading back toward the bridge there. And that is, again, all underwater. And, all the way out to the ground round. It seems like it doesn't want to pan any farther east than the ground round sign right now. And I've been kind of wiggling it back and forth. But, again, this is, this is technology that's been made for inside use. I should point out, watch this as I pan south, Jim. You can see my internet cable cord on the roof running all the way down the side of the Holiday Inn. So if you ever are back there, after the flood here, you'll see my internet cord. And again, thanks to the crew out at Holiday Inn Riverside, as I'll try to pan this a little farther east here. Come on, Joe. Use those controls, Joe.
While you're doing that, we were working on a new system down at iKeating's. Is that right, or how are we doing on that?
Yeah, in fact, we're almost there. Watch this. I apologize for what you're about to see. I cannot operate this from anybody else here. But just trying to pan east a little farther. There's not a whole lot we can see here because, again, it did get rained on. But water everywhere. Water all over the North Dakota State Fairgrounds, the track. Did they, the question for Jim, Sean's shaking his head no. Is it diked on the east side for the grandstand?
It is all the way around.
It's all the way around. Okay,
Correct.
because I just can't see from this vantage point. Okay.
Yeah, it's ringed around the whole thing.
But to share with all of you very quickly what we went through, I will do this. I'm going to pan over here in just a second. You're going to see it. This is that cord that goes down, and I mean, it's literally hanging there, and I'll kind of pan down so you can see it. And watch the cord. This is the best part of it all. This is being brought to you by an open
Somebody's
sales
moving
laptop.
the cord.
Yeah, so that's in the wind. It's just moving in the wind. So.
Okay.
That's our webcam. Just kind of want to give you the whole tour, but Jim, water everywhere, unfortunately. Again, east side Minot and everywhere now in the Mouse River Minot Valley.
We received the report from the Corps of Engineers today that it looks like perhaps the river has crested at Sherwood. You know, I mean, that's their hope anyway. It's down now and it's dry. It was at 28,000 earlier this afternoon. Now it's down to 27,400 CFS there. Meanwhile, at the Boy Scout Bridge above Minot, the level is currently measured at 18,500 CFS. Minot is expecting to top out somewhere around the 26 to 27,000 CFS level during the day on Saturday, and again, Saturday night, I guess. And again, we're expecting to see that level stay with us through about noon on Tuesday, but expecting to stay above the 1563 mark through the end of the forecast period, which is Thursday of next week. And, you know, it's, well, not through July 1st, we're above 1562. So these numbers that we're at now are very high, but about 2 feet higher than that is where it's going to be for the next week at least. So that kind of simply states it, I guess. There's a picture of Arrowhead Shopping Center that was sent in to us, and Harley's in the foreground there.
Harley's is dry?
Looks like it, yeah.
That's amazing, because I'll say, you know, there's a lot of good people in the community, a lot of amazing people who have helped so many out. I just have to say, I mean, Harley's one of them. I could sit here and name people off all day, but, you know, it just is amazing. And when he needed help, you saw all those same people that, you know, if anybody needed help.
Helping him out, yeah.
If you helped, it's just amazing that the support that came in. So, yeah, I mean.
Over on 16th Street, we could look at our live camera there also. That camera has been a good friend to us throughout the time period that we've been showing you what's going on. And a lot of these photos, by the way, come to us from Facebook, and we appreciate what has been sent in that way, because it's such a good way to be able to share the pictures you might have access to. You get to see what's going on around the community, and you know, just keep up with pictures that are coming in and videos, several videos. I was just perusing right now. The 16th Street camera, though, has been a place that we've been able to watch the progression of the river over the course of the last few days. And you notice how the bridge has just about disappeared there now, and that is, you know, also the thing I've noticed about this is that the levee system on the right side of the river there is almost non-existent. I mean, you almost can't see it anymore, so you can't even tell that it should be there, because you know that a lot of this water has filled in because of breaches in certain places of the dikes. And you know, the dike itself might still be sticking up a little bit in some spots, but the whole dike is going to be underwater before too much longer here.
Now, I was just going to mention something. You remember Brad Dixon used to work here at KX. He called earlier this afternoon and said that, hey, you know, I work at Ebel Integrators, and just want to make sure I got the name right, Ebel Integrators, and we have 4 HD cameras. We can get them 27 feet up in the air. You want to use them? It's like, yes. So we've been working on getting them down across from Keating, and they're up now. They're on their way. They'll be here in less than 5 minutes. I've seen the pictures. We'll have full control. We can look at 4 different ways with that camera, and we don't have to have a camera operator there, so we can free up a camera operator to go somewhere else.
I just want to mention something, Tom, because of the support that we've been getting. I mean, here at the station, I'm pretty sure that we could have done this coverage without sending any reporters out, because of everything that's been coming in on Facebook, because of the cameras that are up. Is amazing. I've never been in an atmosphere where you're reporting news based on almost just continuous leads and information pouring in without having to sit on the phone. And while we still take phone calls, still love talking to people, it's just almost too much information coming in at Facebook. Tell me what you told me earlier about you're trying to talk on Facebook to people sometimes.
Well, when we were talking on Facebook and I would do something in the middle of the night, and this is 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd hit the refresh button and then it's gone. I mean, because there's so much coming in.
So many people talking at once. So we really appreciate it. Again, any phone calls, any whether you were on Facebook or even stop by the station, whatever you did. Again, thank you so much for helping us. Again, just bring this all to you because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and again, we're using pretty much every employee here at Wrighton Television, the KX network, from our Bismarck affiliate as well. And as you've seen, Tom, again, we couldn't do it without everybody, including everyone who's given us information. So
there we are looking west off of the Holiday Inn roof also, I believe, right on down 8th Avenue toward that bridge that's down there. And you get an idea what things look down in that way. And Perry's back from our press conference activities today. And gee, Perry, aren't you lucky you got to go to 2 different press conferences today?
Yes.
Yeah. How about that?
The first one was a lot of talking, and I think we got a lot of
quotes is what we got out of the first one.
We did.
Right.
You won't see a whole lot on the news from that one.
Right.
And
the FEMA information was valuable, though.
True.
That was good.
The average that usually people get from FEMA individual assistance, 7,000 to 8,000.
With a maximum of 30, they said.
30, yeah, was it
30,300 or
yeah.
something?
And but that is rare. I think something we'll talk about as maybe once the crest gets here. We'll be more with Ken Kitzman and the Minot Area Community Foundation. And the governor then talked about how the state will have an area as well. However, I think it's important to note that if you want to donate to the Minot area and make sure your funds are directed to Minot, you want to go through the Minot Area Community Foundation. Okay. And we'll maybe bring Ken in. I'm sure Ken would love to come and talk about it. The secondary dike, that's the story that you'll have here in about 10 minutes. Okay. It sounds pretty promising, whereas earlier today when we had this issue that was resolved, maybe it was getting a little concerned, and during that press conference, that first press conference, I don't know if you could see, but Mayor Zimbelman was kind of escorted out at one point during the first press conference. Right. City Manager Dave Wayne followed right after. A Corps official went out quickly. And it's kind of an interesting moment in the room, and you weren't quite sure what was happening. I think it was that incident then that we now know about with the dike, by the 3rd Street, what they were talking about.
Okay, I didn't know if they talked about it. There's video right now on Facebook, if anybody can hear me in the control room, that came in 8 minutes ago from William Venable. Unfortunately, it's sideways, but it is the Black Hawk helicopter dropping 1-ton sandbags on Railway Drive, which I would bet is he said it was taken at 3:30 this afternoon. I would say that's exactly what the problem was.
There it is.
And that's why they had to get the people off of there.
Yeah, and Major General Sprinson-Attic talked about that, how the Black Hawk was used to remedy a situation with it was a seepage pipe problem, and they built a ring dike then kind of in there and took care of it. However, Kendall Bergman, Lieutenant Colonel, gave the numbers saying that we were about 90% done with the work that needed to be done in Sawyer, and 40% done with the work that needed to be done in Velva, but adding that they're very confident they'll finish Velva. They've got a lot of folks headed that way that are finishing up in Sawyer. So I think anything can happen, but those two communities hopefully are in a pretty good position here. And then one of my questions was, well, could you please, and this is kind of the question that we've been asking, what's the status of the secondary dike? I mean, is this going to get done? And, or what's the timeline? And he put it at 80 to 90% complete, which is quite substantial. Plus, excellent. We're looking at a foot lower crest that they seem to all be going with now on the Mouse River, which many of them are calling it. And
that's what it's called.
Well, I know. I'm just saying that as these press conferences go on, I'm hearing more Mouse River at the podium.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. And
it's on the maps, it's on the signs. What can I say? Go ahead.
Trust me, I had the conversation with NPR before the NPR interview. Now, I don't know if they used it or not. the fact that he was, confident that, 89%, 80 to 90%. I said, so are we looking at tomorrow here? And he kind of, that they were. So I think that's great news. Earlier today there was the concern that, maybe, what was going on, and no doubt this. It was the helicopter.
There we go.
Black Hawk.
Here's the video right here of
that was used.
Black Hawk. I don't know how you guys turned that sideways, but there it is. There it is as they're bringing in those 1-ton sandbags that they use to fill up holes in dike systems. And I haven't looked at this ahead of time, but it's a pretty good quality video, though.
It wasn't so much a hole in the dike system. It was that something had happened with a sewer area, and there was some leakage that was coming through that. So they had to plug that and then work with the pressure areas and get it back. And obviously they were successful with that, which is wonderful news. Did you ever know a Black Hawk could fly like that? It's
now our videographer apparently realized that his camera was sideways, so he flipped it over.
I think tomorrow when Sean Sitma's up getting the video, he should make the request that they fly like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that secondary dike, and plus I thought something that was interesting. It was a question that was asked earlier in the early press conference about the railroad. And the mayor kind of indicated that, well, yeah, they had an issue and they went to the railroad and didn't get any cooperation. So, and it was kind of left at that, which was kind of interesting to me. And we find out that the city wanted to do some work with I believe I'm right, when you're driving over the 3rd Street Viaduct there, if you look down, there is that spot where the railroad crosses the river. I think I'm at the right spot here, but the city wanted to do something because there was so much junk being piled up against that, and it was affecting the level of the river, and they were concerned about it. And CP Rail apparently said not happening. And I asked the mayor, so how you feel about that? I mean, is that frustrating? Yeah, it's frustrating, and he left it at that. I think the mayor is not pleased at that situation, and that was how that transpired.
I think that that makes his blood pressure go up when he thinks about that. So we don't want that. Yes, Tom.
Which I just walked in. Which railroad were you talking about?
I'm not sure. I think the mayor said he was talking about CP.
Well, it was CP Rail.
Well, as it turns out, I just got off the phone from somebody with CP Rail. And he wanted us to clarify that it wasn't CP, it was the other railroad. I'm just passing on a message.
Okay, well.
So it was apparently one or the other. They both kind of come close.
It was one or the other.
Yeah.
The mayor said CP, and if he was mistaken,
his worry was that there would be safety issues with employees, or people being rude to the.
I certainly hope that's not the case with the people around here. Yeah, and what it is it's too late. So now it's beyond the point where they could have done anything, couldn't do anything now. It's the story is finished.
And it's not often that you see kind of an amoeba-like piece of water that becomes one of our favorite videos of the day as to show how the water went up today.
I think it really, and it's
not time lapse. This is real time. Yeah.
And these press conferences today, that was the first time I'd really gotten down to see the flood, and standing there at City Hall and looking down and seeing just the rooftops beyond Lincoln School, and standing next to me, this was just before I came back, I was just kind of standing there looking at it, and standing next to me was I believe a husband and wife, and the wife was not doing too well. It was a pretty tough time for her, and kind of walked up and said, you doing all right? And she was crying and said, 21 years. And she said, right there. And I said, that's your home? And she said, right on the other side of Lincoln School, right there. That's our house. And so, all of us want to see our homes. Imagine that, she can stand right there during this entire duration of this flood and
watch it happen in real time.
And watch it happen, yeah.
That is very difficult. And by the way, I didn't see our neighborhood at all in the video that we had from the Black Hawk helicopter. So I think maybe there's no water down there. That's my theory. Because there's probably not any water there.
You think it stayed dry? Back a month ago, when this was going on, we filled about 27 sandbags, and they were still out there.
So good job. As compared to the 650,000 that they filled in Burlington over the last few days to do what they could there.
Boy, think of that work. Obviously, though, you've got to do what you can do, and
very good. Thanks, Perry, and we'll see some of your work throughout the evening here. Sean, if you could ask the control room, there's a couple of things on the list, or actually no, Alicia, I guess, just a couple of things. This and then what I wrote on the bottom of the screen just need to be added in at the appropriate spots for our rundown here, our 6 o'clock news, which is coming up very soon. We are going to go to break pretty soon as we see some of the video that Galen shot today showing us just exactly what was going on. One of the videos that we will be showing again soon during our 6 o'clock news is that boat tour that Jim Cheddar did for us out at Ramstead School. He took us starting at Ramstead and took us on the boat across a long area. Not one of those boats, but it was a boat, I think it looked to me like it had a little small, probably fishing motor on it, and we went out and got some excellent shots of the area that gives you a very good, those shots give you a very good look at what's going on as this flood continues. Well, we're going to take a break and get ready for our 6 o'clock news, which is starting right about now. That is coming up as we continue. And we salute the New York Times for a picture that does so much to capture the emotion of what's going on in this flood fight 2011 this year. From KX News in high definition, this is a special report on Flood Fight 2011. Magnificent. That's the word that Senator Kent Conrad used to describe the people of north central North Dakota and how they've been dealing with the flood fight of 2011 as the Mouse River continues its rampage through our part of the state. Good evening and thanks for tuning into this special edition of KX News at 6. It'll be a KX News at 6 that will have an open end, and we'll have a lot of things for you here tonight. The senator was speaking as he was part of a press conference this afternoon with the rest of the congressional delegation and the governor. And all of those four gentlemen lauded the efforts by local citizens to help each other and get ready for this flood, and then promised to do what they could to bring to bear the state and federal assistance that might be necessary to help people locally get back on their feet after the devastation of a record-breaking flood. The Mouse River this morning passed the 1558 level, the highest level ever recorded on the river back in 1881. Of course, yesterday the Mouse River zoomed past that previous 1969 flood crest of 1555.4. Now we're over the 1560 mark here in Minot at 1560.13 on the way to a crest which is about 3.5 feet higher than where we sit right now. So the river is still coming up. The river is still causing massive problems in the area. You can see what the Weather Service is expecting. We're expecting overnight tonight to see a very rapid rise in the river up to 1563 by 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then a slower rise through the day tomorrow, finishing out at about 1563.6 by tomorrow evening, a level that should be maintained through Tuesday at noon, and the river will be above the 1562 level from, in just a couple of hours on through July 1st, which is the end of the forecast period from the National Weather Service. So we have a long, long fight ahead of us. Now, even at this high level, the chances of finishing up the secondary dike, a secondary dike that could provide protection to many homes on the northeast side of town and protect Broadway, keeping it open for north-south traffic, the chances of finishing that dike are looking pretty good. Lieutenant Colonel Kendall Bergman has estimated that contractors right now are about 80 to 90% finished with this dike. The dike is something that is running down the west side of Broadway, and then cutting east toward 3rd Street and then on farther to the east. He thinks it will be wrapped up in time for tomorrow's crest.
It's pretty close.
I mean, we should be, as an estimate, we will be through, or our estimate is before the crest gets here, we will be able to raise it before the crest gets here.
Meanwhile, work on building up protection in Sawyer and Velva is also progressing well, according to Bergman. He says they are about 90% complete with the dike work in Sawyer and about 40% complete in Velva, but the work there will be stepping up. He said contractors are being released from one location, such as in Minot, and sent downstream to work in Sawyer and Velva. They expect the Velva dike and the Sawyer dike to be done sometime tomorrow and maybe as late as Sunday. and the crests there will be coming after those dates because of the time it takes for the water to move downstream. So it's a good-looking effort there as far as the dike work locally and in Sawyer and in Velva. Now, Minot neighborhoods, meanwhile, are disappearing with the rapid rise of the floodwaters. Although no longer accessible by car, they are being patrolled, these neighborhoods, by boats, thanks to the Sheriff's Department locally and to the National Guard and Air Force. Carla Burbage went out on one of the patrol boat tours.
It's hard to describe the feeling you have when you watch an airboat zooming through a street that would be busy with traffic on a usual Friday in the Magic City. It's an unbelievable sight. Standing on 16th Street looking to the south, airboats were patrolling the homes and businesses that have been inundated with water from the fast-rising Mouse River.
So we really need to be careful down in here when we're doing these missions. It's extremely dangerous and a lot of flowing water. I had to cross the river twice, and it's, you know, all the CFS that's coming through the river. It's difficult to maneuver across it, but we have to do it.
In fact, Anderson says his boat bounced off a couple of submerged vehicles, but thankfully airboats are pretty versatile. The higher the water gets, the more risky the job is. Hitting power lines is the biggest fear. Up and down the river channel, the water is spreading out, swallowing up pieces of our city. It's close to Longfellow Elementary School, and soon will be overtaking Christ Lutheran Church. In the big flood of 1969, Longfellow School did not get water, and here we are in 2011.
Holy smokes. What do you do? I've never seen this much water.
In fact, look at this picture. With every passing second, the water is creeping over more and more property.
I'm surprised how fast it's moving right now, yeah.
And here's a look at the business district along 4th Avenue looking to the east. Even the organization that is helping flood victims, the Mid-Dakota chapter of the American Red Cross, is losing its office building. As homes and businesses are consumed with water, the neighbors right outside of the mandatory evacuation zones continued packing today because they watched the movement of this water and realized they might not be safe.
And then after looking at today and seeing what happened overnight, we're here to get the stuff out of their first floor should be okay.
And this homeowner, who now finds himself living close to the river, well, at least he's trying to keep a sense of humor. In Minot, Carla Burbage, KX News.
All right, thanks, Carla. It's 11 minutes past 6 o'clock as we continue with our special extended version of the 6 o'clock news here on KX News. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the Federal Emergency Management Agency. At today's press conference, the governor announced that, in fact, we heard that yesterday, that the state had resubmitted its request for individual assistance for people who have been affected by flooding in North Dakota. And today, the members of the congressional delegation said that they had had a conference call with Janet Napolitano, who is head of the Homeland Security Department in the U.S., and that department controls FEMA. And Ms. Napolitano promised that she would not leave her office until that application process had been finished up and sent on to the White House, where a final decision will be made. That question was addressed by some members of the congressional delegation and the governor, and here's what they had to say about it.
I would say it was a very constructive conversation. She listened to every word we had to say, and she did promise to give it her personal attention.
Our call to Administrator Fugate joined us in the call we just made with Secretary Napolitano, and as Senator Hoeven has said, she's promised us she's not leaving that building today until the paperwork is gone to the White House to approve individual assistance, and that is absolutely key.
You know, the number one thing we need to do is we need the individual assistance declaration. That's key, and that's what we're all here working hard for. As soon as we receive that, that triggers a recovery center, a place where people can get answers on what to do and where to go. And obviously the housing is key, and so it's kind of a little domino series here that we're really pushing for that. That'll get the recovery centers going.
Congressman Rick Berg talking about the effort to win individual assistance from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and they are hoping, they being a congressional delegation, there could be an answer coming tonight or sometime tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. You know, the assistance is going to be badly needed by many people, thousands of people throughout the city of Minot, and in fact all throughout central North Dakota. Here's a video that was sent in to us today, and it really depicts the problems that everybody is facing as we hop into a boat and ride along here with a tour of the area around Ramstead School and then moving up to the Minot State University area. You're going to be able to see just how bad this is in some areas. And I say thanks to Jim Cheddar, who gave us this video. I assume he took the video. I haven't talked to him directly, but you get the feel you're out for a ride on Lake Metagoshi or something here, but of course it's nothing of the sort. It is just the field that's in front of the Ramstead School. There's the sign for the front of Ramstead. We're heading right straight toward Minot State University now as we move northward, I do believe. And we'll start going by some of the homes that have been so seriously impacted by this flooding. And of course, the impacts are just going to continue and worsen because the river is expected to rise another 3 feet in the course of the next several hours. There's the, the entrance to Ramstead, and now we move down along the street that's right across there and see that the water is it's up pretty high on many of these places. They're looking at a couple to a few or 4 feet of water maybe up on the edges of their homes. Of course, this was taken earlier in the day today, so since that time we've had a very rapid rise in the river level to the point where we've had 2-3 feet added to this video very likely, and then a few feet more yet to come. And we get an idea now of what some of these homes have been dealing with. We head now towards Minot State University's campus, and homes that on the right side there were significantly underwater. A dike has been built along there to try to protect Minot State University. And we turn now and head toward the west on University Avenue. And this western area of town, of course, is the area where the flooding really started first as far as the city of Minot goes, because it's the area where the water reaches first, and it's the area where some of the dikes were slightly lower, but the water just gets there at greater volume before it moves on to other parts. And a lot of these people are looking at major repairs on their homes, with the water up into the main floor on many of them, probably most of them. Some of the video that we'll show you in just a little while in our Black Hawk helicopter tour will show you how there are some homes also where the water is way up on the first floor and probably to the ceiling or even into the rafters, into the attic area, with just the roof showing out in some places. We're still heading west down University Avenue here, I believe, and we are looking off to the west now down University, coming up on the Little Flower School area on your right. And there's a Methodist church on the left there. So we're at this corner, which would be, 8th and University, I believe. Turning to go north. We're looking south right there, but turning to go north now. And looking at Little Flower School with water obviously inside there. And then Little Flower Church. And so far, the dike that Little Flower members and other volunteers built appears to be holding. So thanks to Jim for that video and that chance to look through the area by the way of that boat ride. We have some new cameras to show you now, and these are our HD web cameras that we'll be able to take you around the area. This is up on the Broadway Bridge, or near the Broadway Bridge, I guess, right, Tom?
Okay, yeah, this is it's right across from Ike Keating on Central and Broadway.
Right, to the east of Ike Keating, all right.
And these, and I want to thank the people, Ebel Integrators. Now, these are actually what they use in their oil fields.
Right.
And we'll have full access of 4 cameras. We can rotate them, and also, if there's something big really happens, it's DVRing it.
Okay.
So it's not the kind of thing that everybody can call and say, hey, can you record this for me? That's not what it's designed for. But it's battery operated, solar powered. It'll last 30 days, and it's mobile. So if
and they can zoom in on these.
We can zoom in everything.
Like on this one, we could zoom in perhaps almost kind of straight ahead and just look at what's happening on the other side of the Broadway Bridge there.
Yeah, I'm sure we can. There's 4 cameras. So Joe's back there operating right now.
Okay.
We're just getting the tutorial on how to operate them. And we have this set up here. And then the Minot Police Department has access as well, just so if there's anything big that happens, we can get it recorded and have that for them. So.
And that's looking straight, well, now turning a little bit toward the east here. We were looking straight north along the Broadway Bridge. And now we look off to the east a bit, and we're zooming in, looking over toward the 3rd Street Bridge, and seeing how the river is spreading out in that river valley there in the heart of town.
That other train depot, not the Amtrak one, but the one lonely car out there.
Yeah, the water all around it.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll be showing you those throughout, as we also, of course, have still our 16th Street live camera and our cameras up on the Holiday Inn. So we have you covered in several different areas, plus we're setting up our live HD camera tonight to stay with us throughout the night like we did last night.
We have storm too, unfortunately.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that.
If we can go to the radar, Mr. Mike, there's a strong storm, and I scanned the storm a little bit ago. At this point, there's not a lot of hail in it, but this storm is a rain producer. This storm could drop an inch of rain per hour. And it's just south of Powers Lake right now, another smaller storm up to the northwest of Bowbells, and moving into either the Delac or the Mouse River Basin here very quickly. But that's a rain producer, and hopefully it moves quickly, because if it sits still, that would be, an inch per hour. That would be a real problem.
And we can also get a look at the estimated rainfall later on, just to see what the radar thinks that it might have dumped in that area.
Yeah, and if there's no hail in it, it tends to be more accurate. And right now, there's not a lot of hail.
Okay. Thank you, Tom, and we'll be back with you for our full look at the weather in just a little bit. I'm looking off to the side here because I can't remember what it is we're going to be doing next, but whatever it is, I'm sure it will be interesting. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about the effort to keep travel moving here in the area, because one of the problems that's been caused by the river this year is the highways, and throughout North Dakota really, but now with the flooding of the Mouse River, we're having problems with this area, especially now west of Minot along Highway 2 and 52 there. They're putting a dike right on the highway to try to save access to this road. So a lot of trucks. You want to see how many? Just check this out that you're going to see in just a second. Oop, I guess we got the extremely short version of that story. And I don't know how that happened, but there are trucks up on this hillside by Trestle Valley that are in the dozens, it looked like, that are moving quickly to bring all of the clay and dirt down and put it down onto the highway. Again, the westbound lanes are closed, so it's head-to-head driving there for a short period in that area where they need to build that dike up to protect against the Mouse River. Some very important things, because earlier today we also had problems on the Highway 2 bypass on the southeast side of Minot. And I'm just trying to see if we have that on our video list here, Mike, or if you could look that up for us and we could just play it if it's possible without goofing you up too much. The video that we had that showed the WAD, there you go, right there. This is what it looked like just shortly before they shut down this road. It was very treacherous travel, and look at the backed up traffic out there. As right in the Magic City Implement area, we had all of this traffic backed up, people trying to make their way on the bypass around town. On the other side of the highway, Keller Paving is over there, and then you look back here and you see the backed up highway, or backed up traffic on the highway. So they did shut that lane down. That left side of your screen, those two lanes, that part of the roadway was shut down. So coming into Minot from Towner, you have to take an alternate route in order to get to where you want to go. Going out of town towards Towner, the highway is still open, okay? Originally they closed the whole thing, then they were able to make some changes and open up the eastbound lanes of Highway 2. So that is still available for your traveling right now. Now we'll move on to our next piece of video, which was a piece of video that showed a lot throughout the morning or afternoon hours here on KX as our 24/7 coverage went on, and that was just how quickly the water was coming up. You know, yesterday at this time we were several feet lower. We were just getting ready to go past the old record of 1555.4, and now here we are over the 1560 level, and we're looking at 4.5 feet higher over the course of about 24 hours. And there was a time when the projections were that we were going to go another 4.5 feet higher in the next 24 hours, but they did scale that back somewhat. But look at how quickly the water has been rising. And this gives you a very good example of what happens when the river gets over its banks. And no doubt it breached in several places to be moving this quickly into this area. just going over the top of the dikes, over the whole extent of the dikes, and then perhaps cutting some new holes in the dikes to allow the water to come in even more quickly. It was a situation that kind of caught the reporter here by surprise, and Galen Ness, our photographer, was out there for that and brought that back for us so that we could see what was going on. Now, early today, there was a change made in the effort to save the secondary dike and actually to try to handle the water moving through the central part of town. Workers broke through a line of those trap bags, those great big sand-filled barriers that had been put up along 3rd Street Northeast near the viaduct. One of the men on the scene was telling me that they're trying to make a channel, and it appeared like maybe they had succeeded in that, trying to make a channel for the floodwaters on the Mouse to flow through to limit the problems in that very critical area. Heavy equipment was used to burst through the line of those trap bags that had been set up just 24 hours earlier, those bags that had been brought in from Fargo to help in this effort, emblazoned with the logo of Spirit of Fargo. After that, the smaller equipment kind of moved in and finished off the area, making a spot where the floodwaters could perhaps move through more quickly. And you see the floodwaters off in the distance there, looking east on Central Avenue, as it looked this morning at about 9 o'clock. Officials early on in this flood fight had hoped to devise a plan to keep 3rd Street open, but of course that plan we were told yesterday wasn't going to work, and today it officially died with this work that was going on that turned part of this road into a part of the flooding Mouse River. And I want to show you, I think, one more shot. Yeah, you can see the flooding down the street, and then the Bobcats being operated by National Guard and Air Force people trying to make things work. Now, that's how it looked at 9 o'clock this morning. Then we went back to that same area this afternoon to see how the waters had come up, and by mid-afternoon or a little bit after that, 3rd Street looked like that, with water that had been just up at the base of the bridge now covering the street to beyond Central Avenue. And there's a pretty amazing shot coming up here where these 4 trucks are coming around the horn and making a left turn between Cenex and Val Cyclery down there at Central and 3rd Street. And just check and see, that's how deep that water was. That's an area that I was standing in for that first piece of video we showed you this morning. So you get an idea of what's going on here with the water of that river rising so quickly and getting up to that level, 2-3 feet deep, in just a matter of a few hours over the course of the late morning and early afternoon in the Minot area. This is what it looked like closer down to ground level as the car that had been left there was now slowly being covered up. Remember the level of the water on that car, because we're going to see another shot of it, because the reporter and the photographer spent a little extra time down here watching this develop. You can see the brick studio there as we pan looking east and then starting to look to the southeast. But remember that car, we're going to see it again in the course of like 15 minutes or so. That's not the same one, but look at how covered up those cars are now. And of course that dumpster, there's the Renaissance Center on 3rd Street, just a little north of Central. And let's see, I think we are getting close to seeing a second shot of the car. You see the Black Hawk helicopter flying by in the background there as they, that might have been on the tour that we're going to be showing you in just a little while, as a matter of fact. There's the low angle of the water lapping up at the camera, really. And it was Arnie's Lounge that said on its reader board on the other side of the board, it said to have a good week. And we hope that people do have a good week despite what's going on in the area. Do we have, well, Tom, as soon as I'm done with this, I'll check in with you here and kind of see some of the businesses that are trying to save what they can down there. And I just want to see if we see that car again, because it was so descriptive of how quickly the water was moving up today. And we're going to see the same type of thing into the night, into the early morning hours tomorrow, where we have fast rises in the river, the kind of thing where you're out, some of the folks might be out working on dikes and that sort of thing, and all of a sudden the water just shoots up and makes it impossible to continue any of sort of the work that they were doing in the minutes right before that. And that's what happened to the folks out in Burlington last night. We're going to show you that coming up in just a couple of minutes as well. There's some of the debris, a dumpster that started to kind of float away, then got hung up on something right there as near one of the grain bins. A good look at the river itself out there with the dike in the far distance, the emergency dike, secondary levee on the back side of it there. And one more time, a look at these big, huge trucks bringing in all that dirt and clay that is going to play such an important role in trying to protect the Broadway from water and to perhaps protect a bunch of houses out there in the northeastern part of the city. The Cenex there is seeing water as we expected. You see some of the guardmen who were running to see what it was that they had to accomplish next. We have some 750 to 800 National Guard men and women from around the state helping out right now in the effort, and Air Force Base people also, and equipment from the Guard and the Air Force. There's a big piece of wood that just floated by as they were sitting there, and you know, the trash and the debris, and there's that car. Remember, we could see the door handle when we first looked at it, and then within 15-20 minutes it had gotten up to that point. So that was what I wanted to see. Now we want to talk about the weather with Tom Schrader, because we have a warning on this now?
It's not a warning, but the storm is getting stronger.
Okay.
Right now there is a little bit of hail, probably, you know, half-inch hail, but the storm is now showing signs of being a 1 to 2 inch per hour type of storm, and that's something to just keep an eye on. We will do that. The storm is right around Powers Lake, and it's drifting east. Okay.
And, you know, it's funny, it was 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon when we got the last reading that stayed that way for about 4 hours from the USGS, and it's the last reading we have is 5 o'clock right now. So I don't know if there's something wrong with their clock or what, but we have not got a 6 o'clock update on the level of the river. It's still at 1560.13. Just to keep you updated on that. Now, one of the things we have been able to do today was get up on a Black Hawk helicopter to go through the area and kind of get a look. You know, some people write in and say, oh, you cut out the part that included my house. Well, it's just a matter of shooting what we can, kind of scrunched in the middle among about 10 members of the media from locally and around the nation, and trying our best to get shots out the window when we could. So there are some areas certainly that did not get covered, but many, many, many areas did, and we're going to take a look at that plus more as we continue on our special long version of the KX News at 6 o'clock coming up in just a moment.
Well, it just can't get easy, can it? It just can't be easy today. We have a couple of thunderstorms working their way towards the Dulac and the Mouse River Valley. And the storm around Powers Lake, for one thing, has been, well, when it was around Tioga, just north of Tioga, dropped 1.5 inches of rain already, so we know it's a heavy rain producer. It appears that it's weakened just a little bit. There was some pea-sized hail just north of Tioga as well. Now, the storm up northwest of Bow Bells, that storm is getting stronger fairly quickly, and just looking at the radar, it appears that it's even a little stronger storm. So we have a few storms heading into the Dulac and the Mouse River Basin, and the Storm Prediction Center was talking about putting out some kind of a watch that would encompass a section of North Dakota, but they didn't indicate this would be the area. They had it farther south, but here are where the storms are. Now, we'll continue to have chances of showers and thunderstorms tonight. You know, these are more rain producers. I mean, we could have a severe thunderstorm with a large hail, but most of this is going to be a rain event tonight. Tomorrow we have, you know, a good chance of thunderstorms as well. And actually, tomorrow the atmosphere is going to be set up a little bit better for the big storms, the severe thunderstorms. And, you know, tomorrow, you know, the river is going to continue to rise, and we're going to be dealing with that and possibly some thunderstorms in the area. So Mother Nature is definitely taking her best shot at us, and you know, maybe the storms miss us, but right now that's kind of what we're dealing with. And if we have maybe just one of the cameras around town, you know, and I don't even know the number of people that are impacted with this, but I'm just going to use a number. I'm just going to throw out 50,000. And if there's 50,000 people impacted one way or another, whether losing the house, relatives, whatever, but that, again, that's my number. There's 50,000 stories of the moment that it clicked. And I got to tell you mine. I've been sitting here at the station most of the time, and you know, I've seen probably more video than most people. I've been, you know, watching Facebook all the time, refreshing it every few seconds. Sean Sitman and I are on from 10P to 6A, and so I've seen everything there is to see. But it was TV, and I was disconnected with it. So this afternoon, when we got that call from Ebel Integrators to set up, they offered their cameras for us. I went down to where across from Ike Keating to help get this set up, and I was going down 3rd Street, and my first look, I guess my moment was when I came down. I was close to Broadway and Burdick and 3rd Street at the stoplight there, you know, near the courthouse, when I saw 3rd Street kind of underwater. and that was my moment. And everybody has their own moment. That was mine this afternoon, and I know it sounds crazy that, because I've seen all the buildings. These are buildings that I knew, places I've been, friends' houses I've seen, you know, but it was on TV. And until you actually see it with your own eyes, there's a totally different reaction. I got to tell you, I wouldn't have believed it. I would have thought that I knew it, I felt it. But when I came down the hill and saw the water on 3rd, that was kind of a gut check right there. It was pretty tough. But that's mine. Everybody has their own moment. Again, 2 thunderstorms right now, one west-northwest of Bow Bells, the others around Powers Lake, and it looks like the one around Powers Lake is dropping. The energy's kind of moving to the north a little bit. The one at Powers Lake, when it was just northeast of Tioga, looks like about 5 or 6, maybe 7 miles. I think it was an inch and a half rain, and those are continuing to work its way east. So, you know, we'll continue to watch this. We're not expecting a lot of severe weather tonight, but of course, if there is, we will let you know about it. You know, the people that live in Powers Lake, the people that live in Bow Bells, even though they're not getting evacuated, if there's a big storm, they count too. So we'll be you know, we'll be watching them. So, Jim, hopefully, I know I can tell you for sure the storm around Powers Lake is losing its punch. Dropped a lot of rain, some small hail. The storm that's moving towards Bow Bells, that is a pretty strong storm, so I'll keep an eye on that one.
And it looks like it is not losing punch quite like the one down by Powers Lake.
No, the one in Bow Bells is actually getting stronger.
Yeah.
And there's that's getting stronger for sure.
Okay. All right, thanks, Tom. And we'll continue with our special edition of KX News at 6 with our aerial tour via Black Hawk helicopter. That's next. Stay with us.
From KX News in high definition, this is a special report on Flood Fight 2011.
The city of Minot is in the middle of the highest river levels ever recorded here. The river, in fact, is hitting its highest levels everywhere in its path through north-central North Dakota. In Minot, that means some 11 or 12,000 people displaced, evacuated to get away from the rising water. And the water was rising quickly through the day today, as a matter of fact. We had a chance to go up in a Black Hawk helicopter and take a look. Let's take roll that video now as we show you some of the areas that are, you know, facing all of these flooding problems. We tell you that we were kind of situated in the middle of the helicopter, so it's sometimes a little bit hard. Sometimes the view is blocked and didn't get a look at every neighborhood, but we got many of the spots between Burlington and Velva. You're looking at the 83 bypass and that long line of traffic. The traffic has been just, you know, very snarled throughout the day today. We were looking to the east. Now we're kind of turning northward a little bit, I believe, and then we'll look back to the west where we will see the Teresita Vallejo neighborhood coming up at us right there. And you see it across the river right over there on the right side of your screen. There's the entrance road into Teresita Vallejo. And the road turns around to the right and then is supposed to turn left, but you see it turns to water right at that point, and it is all water, of course, back in that neighborhood as well. The railroad bridge there is in some peril from the rushing water there, caused by a little waterfall action. We're now in southwest Minot, West Central Avenue. West Central with so many homes that saw flooding, of course, back in 1969. And here we are again in 2011. In some of these homes, you'll notice here as we hit 16th Street and then go over into Oak Park, in some of the homes you're going to notice how you can just barely see the roof sticking out of the water. And it's the kind of thing that's pretty difficult for many people to have to see with their houses, and yet it's hard not to watch it too. There's Oak Park Shopping Center. And of course, Oak Park has water well up on the side of its walls right now. The Seton Drive area was inundated early on in this whole process, starting about 48 hours ago or so, with some of the first water coming over the dikes there. Then, of course, we had all of western Minot getting overtopped dikes yesterday. Ramstead School has a dike ringing it, and notice the homes near Ramstead and how things look in their situations. 5th Avenue Northwest here, you know, totally the first floor under in some of these homes. Now we're coming up on that special secondary dike, which runs up 3rd Street and then heads over to Broadway, or just alongside Broadway anyway. There's Lowe's Printing in the foreground, just went out of our screen. You see the Wesley Tire Center on the left side of your screen right there. And Minot State University off in the distance now at the top of the screen. And that big long dike that's being built, trying to withstand this rapid rise in the river. There is some good news in that the river's level, or the river's flow, as it crosses the border coming into the U.S. has dropped off just a bit over the course of the day today. It peaked at 29,000 or so CFS, and now it's down to 27,200. 27,200. There's Ramstead School. Once again, we're looking at the front door to Ramstead, and you see the dike that is built up around it, and certainly hope that it's large enough and meaty enough to hold out. Roosevelt Park Pool, we just went over right there. And we switch over to the other side of the helicopter to try to get a better look there and see some of those areas east of Roosevelt Park. And actually there is the new park entrance at the top of your screen there, and that has water problems, obviously, after all the construction work that's been going into it. And we head farther now downstream on Burdick Expressway. And we'll come to the bridge there, which is right there, and then some of the houses that we've taken photos of several times. And the water rushing down East Burdick, going in to fill up those areas.
Do you have your little map there that shows drainage?
I sure do.
Okay, let me ask you if we can pull up the radar.
No, we can't pull up the radar. We're watching the...
okay.
We're watching
then
this.
Never mind. I'll ask you while you're looking at the... While people are looking at
That's fine.
that.
Yep.
Okay, the storm is in west of Bowbells a little bit and right around Powers Lake. Where does that drain into either the Des Lacs or the...
Powers Lake does not drain into the Des Lacs River. About maybe 10 miles north of Powers Lake, it starts draining into the Des Lacs River. So
okay, and how about west of Bowbells?
Bowbells is definitely in the drainage area for the Des Lacs. Yes.
Okay, well then we definitely don't have we definitely have some bad news here.
Okay.
Is we're getting reports now, especially around Lignite, just south of Lignite.
Right.
And then around Powers Lake, that whole area right there, already we've had rainfall amounts of 2 to 3 inches with an additional 1 to 3 inches possible. So worst case scenario would be 6 inches, best case scenario according to the National Weather Service now 3 inches.
Okay.
So that's a lot of rain.
Lots of rain falling. We'll check the radar when we're done with this tour that we're taking right now. You know, I mean, we're getting accustomed to bad news. What something like this could do is simply add to both the height and the length of the crest through, you know, Minot and every place else downstream of Burlington, because that's where the Des Lacs River dumps in, to the Mouse River. Here we are looking now at the downtown area, looking off to the south, then flying to the west. And there's the walking bridge there, and the church right there, and Home Sweet Home in the foreground at the bottom of your screen. And we come up now to the Broadway Bridge, and a lot of work has been going on at that spot. There's I. Keating's just going off the screen to the left. And we're swinging around, and I think we take a trip now out east of town. And here are some areas where you'll see some major inundation of some homes, and the ditches, of course, and all of the agricultural land out there. A lot of it, speaking of agriculture, I mean, the farmers this year are facing, you know, real devastation because of the low amount of acreage that will be planted this year in the state of North Dakota due to groundwater problems, really, just the water being saturated. You know, obviously this won't help at all. It can't get much worse than what you're seeing right here. There's the KOA campground just coming into the view there. And the trucks making their way slowly through, slowly. That 54th Avenue right there with the dike on it, you can see it there. And continue down the street, down the highway rather. We're being asked to let you know that Highway 2 on the east side of town is closed to non-essential traffic. Magic City Implement is getting dirt hauled in, and the traffic is still very full in that area, and they're asking folks to stay away. We heard the mayor and the governor both say that non-essential traffic only is what we should have.
Highway 2 East?
Yeah. It's an area that is, well, we saw in the video we showed you earlier that it is just choked with traffic. And again, the governor has, asked everyone to please refrain from traveling if it's not an essential part of life right now. And that would be very helpful to all the trucks that are trying to get to places like Magic City Implement, and the trucks that are also still working on the dike system in Minot, that secondary dike system. That is still in need of finishing up. Estimated 80 to 90% finished by the Corps of Engineers today. We're out near Sawyer and Velva right now, I believe, as we continue this little tour down the river. West of the Sawyer area right here, with some of the folks who are used to dealing with water in some years, but obviously not water at this level. We check out the road that leads down into Sawyer. By the way, we've been checking here, and we still have not received an update on the river level for Minot. We are going to go through all of the river levels after we finish up our tour here, and we'll take you through the entire Mouse River, all up and down, to see how things are looking with the latest numbers. I can tell you a couple of them that you might be interested in. For instance, at Sherwood, the number is down to 27,200 for the inflow. That's a 6:30 reading. It was up over 29,000 earlier today, which they apparently are considering probably the peak. We look to the southeast of Sawyer toward Velva, and we see that just huge lake of water that is out there now, spreading out all across the river valley. Some of the other levels I can pick out for you from our list at the Boy Scout Bridge. It's listed at 18,600 CFS and a level of 24.12. They have a temporary sensor there trying to keep track of that level. Check that out there between Sawyer and Velva. The Logan reading is at 37.76, and again in Logan and Sawyer both we're expecting levels about 4 feet over the all-time record, and a few feet over the all-time record in Velva as well. We've already set records in Towner and Bantry and West Hope, and a record fell today in Minot. The highest water level ever recorded was reached today when we passed the 1558 mark. We're officially at 1560.13, but we have not had a 6 p.m. update from the Weather Service. This is the exact time, or from the USGS. This is the exact time yesterday that it stopped giving updates also. Makes me wonder if there's not something not set right in the computer program there. For the Velva area, that one side of the railroad tracks having to evacuate by tomorrow night. It's a few days until the crest is expected in Velva. They're working on the dike system. They say they're about 40% finished, hoping to finish it up tomorrow or Sunday. And then I think they feel pretty comfortable about it. The Velva dike being worked on right there. And Highway 41 will be closed once the river gets to a point that it is required for them to close it. And they will then have to ferry people over quite a distance to get them through there. Velva Sports Complex on the edge of town there as we head back upstream, back toward the Sawyer area. These helicopter rides also serve a pretty good purpose for the community leaders and state leaders to get a chance to look at just how difficult things are out there. You know, we heard Rick Berg talking today about how he saw, maybe 100 houses that had just, and now we're back to northwest of Minot on 16th Avenue, 100 houses or so that had, like that one right there, that had just the roof showing on their first floor, and 1,000 that had probably 6 to 8 feet of water on them, and maybe another 1,000 or more that's the Minot Country Club clubhouse right there, and pro shop area. He said another 1,000 or more that had 2 to 3 feet of water. So we have just a devastating situation this year with the Mouse River. 75th Street Southwest, looking out there to see some more of these homes that have only their roofs up above the water, essentially just a roof plus a foot or two. And we continue off now to, I guess maybe we're getting close to the end of this. I'm not sure. How much do we have left, Mike? There you see water rushing through at Burlington. Oh, okay, there still is some time left. So the Burlington area we're looking at here. Our TV control room operator, Mike Heilman, lives in Burlington and said it looked to him like the water was about up to the living room window there in his house. Lake Darling dam releases, by the way, were going to be increased. In fact, right by now, they are increased up to 25,000 CFS. 25,000 CFS. There's the home of the folks, the Johnsons. We've met several times throughout the course of the spring as they tried to fight the flood and had in all the sump pumps and the ring dike around the home, and now the water is up to the roof. And it's pretty much impossible to hold that back. But there's Burlington again. I was saying that the releases at Lake Darling up to 25,000 today. They said they're going to reevaluate tomorrow and decide if they can keep it at that 25,000 level. They originally had thought they were going to go to 26,000 some point today. And I believe 28,000 I thought was the ultimate goal at some point, if I remember correctly. Start hearing so many numbers, you kind of lose track. The level of Lake Darling is back to about 1,600 feet. It's at 1,599.95. So we're within about a foot and a half or so of the full level of Lake Darling once again. Now this is back in Burlington with another look there. Lake Darling is considered full at 1601.5, but they did get a variance from the commission that operates the lakes, the International Commission, to go a few inches above that. So maybe close to 1602 would be considered to be the full level for Lake Darling now. And that about brings us to the end of our aerial tour, courtesy of the North Dakota National Guard, the Air National Guard. We do appreciate their allowing us to tag along and get a look at some of that. Well, you know, it's such a devastating, you know, when you look at, it's like looking at a satellite view, you know, oh, well, there's the city of Minot. Isn't that cool? That's neat. But down there in a situation like this, at every one of those homes and businesses, you know, there are individual stories that are just heartbreaking. And
when we were setting up the camera on Broadway, a gentleman walked up and he's looking and he just didn't look real happy, obviously. And he goes, "That's my house. It's up to the awnings right now."
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you were telling us about some rain. Do you want to do that before we do the levels, or are we okay here?
No, I can just tell you if you want. I think we have it actually on two different computers.
Oh, okay.
So here's the radar.
All right.
And I don't know that I've ever prayed for hail so much because hail
make the readings wrong, you mean?
Because hail would make the reading wrong.
Right.
But the radar estimated rainfall for the storm just south of Columbus right now,
by lignite,
if there is no hail in that storm, we're at 4 inches of rain. And I, you know, if you have farmland there, I'm sorry that I prayed for hail.
Yeah.
But I mean, I hope you understand my reasoning.
Well, there's really not much. I mean, there's nothing you can do except just deal with what comes to us. We know that we only get what we can handle, and so we'll be okay here. But yeah, there could be some big rains. Now, you know, in one small area to receive that much rain is not necessarily cause a huge deal along the river. It's when you get those rainfalls like they've had in Canada, where you get 4 or 5, 6, 8 inches of rain over pretty much the entire watershed.
Right, and this isn't that.
Pours the water in, yeah. This, and once again, though, we do have very saturated soil, so the rain is mostly going to run off into the streams and into the Des Lacs River ultimately, and that's an unfortunate situation. Well, let's go over and take a look at our river levels before we take our break. And we want to start up in Sherwood, where, as we said, they did have a crest, they believe, this morning at about the 29,000 cubic feet per second level. And it is dropping now. The stage reading is at 27.71, still the highest ever recorded. And in every one of these cases, it's going to be the highest highest ever recorded. On the Foxholm-Des Lacs River gauge, it's dropping now at 12.88. Could easily head back up again if we get all that rainfall. Lake Darling, as I mentioned, is at 1599.95, and that is currently putting out 25,000 CFS. The spillway top is considered to be 1601.5, although it could go just a little bit above that, close to the 1602 mark. So essentially, there's about 2 feet of storage still remaining in Lake Darling. And we're hoping that the reduced flows now showing up at Sherwood will make a difference in being able to maybe make some space in Lake Darling. Moving downstream on the left side, the Des Lacs River at Burlington is in the highest ever territory at 26.56. That reading is influenced by the Mouse River, which is backing up into the Des Lacs River channel. East of Foxholm, the Mouse is at 22.26, and it'll go into record territory again, as it did earlier. In Minot area, west of Minot, we are at 24.12, and that too is going to very likely take us to a record high, over 27 feet. 26 was the old record, and we're looking for a major record there at the Boy Scout Bridge northwest of Minot. In Minot, this is an old reading, a 5 o'clock reading, as the readings again stopped at the exact same time they did last night. 1560.13 is the current gauge reading, and we're expecting, just to recap those numbers for you briefly, we're expecting that to reach up to 1563 by about 4 o'clock in the morning. So about 9 hours from now, we expect almost 3 feet more on the height level, the stage level of the Mouse River in Minot. Then 1563.6 for the overall crest is the current guess. In Logan, the Mouse is now at 37.76, on the way to an all-time record high. Same thing in Sawyer, where they're working on the dike system. It's at 24.93 with 29.5 expected as the crest. And again, that is way over the previous high ever recorded at Sawyer. Velva is going up over the 1515 level, which is the tops of their dikes, but they are adding to those dikes, and they're about 40% done with that work right now. In Towner, where we had a record earlier in the year, earlier in the spring, we are expecting to get back to another record late in the month here, as we're at 57 feet right now. And is it really predicting 61 feet? Boy, I hadn't seen that. Let me check. Something sounds funny there. I'm going to look that up. Well, no, it is. It says 61.2. I can't believe that. I mean, that is just an amazing figure, because if you've driven around Towner, you know how much area that river has to cover in order to raise a foot, and we're already at all-time highs, and yet the forecast is calling for it to go up to 61.3 feet by June 30th. That is just stunning to me. And Bantry, again, we're getting back up to record highs, even past the records that we set earlier in the springtime. And the West Hope gauge, where we had a record earlier this spring in April, might not quite get back to that level, but it seems like it's going to be pretty close, because it's almost up to the 20-foot level already at 19.89. The river levels for the folks in the Williston area, I'm not sure if that's on here or not, or is it? I don't know. No? Okay, that's all right. And so that's an update on our river levels. Now I would like to take a break, and we're going to come back and talk about some more. We'll talk about Burlington having to give up the fight in trying to fight off the Mouse River last night, and we'll meet a young man who was moving out of his apartment, one of the last ones to evacuate in town. And plus, we'll have more as we continue our special lengthy version of the 6 o'clock news here on KX News in just a moment.
For the first time in North Dakota, watch the Mandan 4th of July Parade in high definition. Brighton Television and Cooper Chevrolet Subaru are offering you the best seat in the house for the Mandan 4th of July Parade in HD. If you can't be there in person, relax at home, and we'll bring you all the color and excitement. Live coverage begins at 10 a.m. See all the floats, marching bands, antique cars, special guests, and everything that you love about the Mandan 4th of July Parade. Watch the first parade in North Dakota in HD on Brighton Television.
From KX News in high definition, this is a special report on Flood Fight 2011.
We salute the spirit of the people of the communities affected by the Mouse River. That was the words of Senator Kent Conrad today as he addressed a special press conference that was held involving the members of the congressional delegation. Senator Conrad said the country is behind the people here and paying attention, according to the people he's talking to back in Washington, D.C. and elsewhere. He says Americans are very impressed with the way so far that the folks of central North Dakota have done all they can to try to fight off the Mouse River as it rises through the area. And one place that certainly signifies that or exemplifies that is Burlington, where throughout this flood fight they've displayed that can-do spirit. It was every 6 hours, they seemed to get a new guess that it was going to be going higher and higher, and they kept saying, well, I think we can do that. We can try this and that. And then ultimately last night, it all kind of came crashing down for the city of Burlington. Kate Shell was there as that was happening last night.
First started out at the 11,000, and we sat down and talked about it, and we said, yeah, we can build it up to that. And it went to 13. Yeah, we can do that. Then it went to 17, and we were kind of contemplating it. We figured, well, if we went this far, there's no sense stopping now. So we said, okay, we're going to try for 17. Then it went to 20. We sat back and thought about it, and we said, yep, we're just going to keep going. We're going to build it until it's not safe to do it.
While they had hoped that time would never come, crews realized Thursday it was no longer safe to keep fighting the flood.
It's kind of like somebody slapped me. I mean, it's just like a big slap in the face. I mean, but like everybody said, we did what we could do. We fought it as hard as we could.
Public Works Director Carter Lessman says as hard as it was to pull people off the dikes, it's something that had to be done.
It just wasn't safe to be on the dike, and I wasn't going to put anybody's life at risk to try and save a house. So we pulled everybody off, and we did it at just the right time. I mean, we stopped bagging. We were bagging with the water. As the water was coming up, we were keeping up and just ahead of it. Within 2 hours after we pulled off the dike, we had a breach in there.
Volunteers worked 24 hours a day for days on end building up the levee. They were able to add more than 650,000 sandbags to the structure in under a week.
I think everybody in town that was physically capable of lifting a sandbag or filling one, they were here doing it. I mean, and bringing food in, it was just unbelievable. And without them, we wouldn't have got anywhere close to where we made it today. And had the projections not changed today, I still feel we could have held it back. But with what they went to, it was something we weren't gonna mess with.
And so Kate Shell reporting there, talking with Carter Lessman, saying that really the fight isn't completely over, as they will keep on doing what they can to save any homes in the city that they possibly can there in Burlington. And once again, really a great example of the spirit of the not giving up for folks in the Burlington area, and a spirit that certainly has been repeated throughout the Mouse River Valley. You know, we heard about Mouse River Park trying to sandbag as the water was just slamming down into their area. And we've heard about the same types of stories along the way, where people with individual homes who keep on building and rearranging dikes and sandbags and trying to make it work, and then ultimately having it not work. About 11,000 people altogether in the Minot area have been forced to evacuate their homes because of the rising Mouse River. Most of the evacuations were finished yesterday. This morning, though, I was out as the workers were making a new channel for the river to use on 3rd Street. I ran into one man who was finally getting a chance to remove his belongings from his apartment.
Just get my remaining belongings out.
Is this where you live, or your business, or what?
Yep.
Which business?
Well, I live here, live above the bar there.
Okay, and so you're getting your stuff out.
Yeah.
How's it going? Go ahead and walk. I'll talk with you later.
All right. Well, it's pretty heavy, to say the least.
Let me help you. Hold on. I got that one. After I finally pitched in and helped, this poor guy is carrying about 500 pounds worth of stuff, and I'm standing there trying to do an interview with him. So we threw the stuff into my car, and I gave him a ride a couple of blocks up the hill to where it was parked, and then he told me about his story.
Well, I come from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and heard on the news the other day that it's going to be flooding out here, so I just basically rushed home back here to Minot as fast as I possibly could and got everything out, and now I'm out, so.
You're ready?
I'm ready to go.
Keeler says that he was visiting the Twin Cities, visiting relatives, when he heard the news about the dire predictions for the river, and made it back just in time to this morning get his stuff cleared out from his apartment downtown. Well, a lot of places have had to close their businesses. A lot of businesses have had to shutter for now, and of course homes have had to be evacuated. We can roll the video and look at what was going on out in the Burlington area, where the nursery out there that is familiar to lots of people. They do a lot of business at Christmas time, and they finally had to give up their fight as well against the river. I have visited this area a few weeks ago, or several weeks ago, when they were fighting the flood of the Des Lacs River. And, you know, they were kind of defiantly trying to beat it back and putting up some small dikes and some sandbags. And ultimately, it just finally they had to take off their boots and give up the fight there at that nursery. And, you know, our hearts go out to them as well. You know, there still are efforts to hold back water in some critical areas. You know, we've talked about the dozens, even 100 homes or more in northeast Minot that could be saved by that secondary dike. That dike that would run along Broadway and then protect that area. Well, where does all that come from? Where does all that dirt come from for things like that? In this case, look at this activity out by Trestle Valley as the trucks were rolling in and out, coming in empty, going out full, and making a special dike that's being built along 2 and 52 west of Minot. It's quite a process, whether it's this one or whether it's the dike system that's being built, that secondary dike in Minot. It requires a lot of dirt, a lot of clay, and that's how it works over and over, hauling load after load of clay to make it happen. Well, coming up in just a moment, we're going to continue our special KX News at 6 extended edition. We'll talk about tonight's late press conference, or this late afternoon press conference that was held, and we'll also have other news for you as we continue live 24/7 here on KX News.
From KX News in high definition, this is a special report on Flood Fight 2011.
Already more than $250,000 has been put into a fund to raise money to help victims of the Minot flooding. Ken Kitzman, the director of the Minot Area Community Foundation, announced today at a press conference late in the afternoon that this fund he expects to grow easily over $1 million soon, and he's hoping for it to go higher than that. Mr. Kitzman said that the Minot Area Community Foundation feels its job to help the people of Minot who have been so severely hit by this awful tragedy. He also said it would be used for people throughout the 4-county area where the Mouse River travels, from Canada down to the Velva area and then back up into Canada. The money will be distributed by nonprofit organizations that will be contacted and contracted over time. And you can find out about the community flood relief by going to centerforcommunitygiving.com. And also there are links that have shown up on our website at KX News Minot on Facebook.com /KX News Minot. And you can go there and find out more about this project. They are going to be raising funds to try to build up a large amount of money that can be used to help people get back on their feet who have been so devastated by this flooding. That was one of the pieces of information that came out of the press conference this afternoon that has been something that has really brightened up people's days as they look at all those awful images that we keep sharing, with the water up over the top of the many houses in the area. About how many homes have been damaged by this flooding so far? Well, Mayor Kurt Zimbelman estimated in Minot it would be between 2,500 and 4,000 homes. Rick Berg, the congressman from North Dakota, said he estimated he saw at least 100 homes where all he saw basically was the roof, and then another 1,000 plus where it was 4 to 6 feet, or I believe he said 6 to 8 feet high, and then another 1,000 plus where it was a couple of feet high. And he said it was a really difficult thing to look at. Him being a person from Fargo himself, who he says has had to ride a boat to and from his house on more than one occasion. The mayor pledged that we're doing everything we can to keep Broadway open, and said that the work will continue on the secondary dike. And he did put out the plea again to please do not travel in the city of Minot unless it is of a very much importance. Please do not travel right now. Excuse me, we're looking at one of our newest webcams online for you, and it is located at North Broadway, just across from Ike Keating Furniture World. You see one of the folks walking up the bridge there to go take a look at the river. And we're also, by the way, in the process of setting up another live camera. We'll have another one of our live cameras going on tonight all night long. That'll be our actual HD live feed that will, I think, be providing some pretty amazing views this evening. And so we'll look forward to seeing that. There you see all of the water located just to the west of the Broadway Bridge. And other live cameras, we haven't looked recently at 16th. If we want to check there at some point, we can do that. 16th Street, where the water treatment plant is located. And that camera has been very helpful through the past few days as we've watched the river level climb and finally move over the top of the 16th Street Bridge there. The mayor said that the city has taken many steps to make sure that if, in fact, the city becomes somehow divided by this river with a north and a south, that the city will have fire and emergency services, all essential services available on both sides of the river. They've already taken steps to make that happen. The fire chief says they have ladder trucks on both sides, tanker trucks on both sides of the river to make sure that they are not left unable to respond to a fire situation. Can we zoom in on this a ways, please, and take a look maybe and zoom in and then pan from left to right or something as we get a closer up look at what's going on. This is a live shot from 16th up on top of the water plant, and you can see the water is easily going over the top of the bridge there, and also just flowing quickly into the neighborhoods throughout the area. And this is water that has been coming up over the past several days. It's, you know, the western part of Minot, one of the first places that saw the flood water. That home that's sticking out there in that little jog in the river there is, I believe, finally getting water on top of it. Not finally, but getting water on top of it and moving up the side a few feet, it looks like. We have water going over the left side of the bank. Obviously, this whole neighborhood, as we keep going farther to the right, you see some of the homes that are now facing water issues because of the flooding of the Mouse River this year. Floods in the area are not limited to the Minot area, obviously. We know that all along the river we have seen it you know, coming in from Mouse River Park on down south to Burlington and Logan and Sawyer, and we're glad to see the efforts to build sandbag dikes are going well, or other kinds of dikes going well in Velva and Sawyer, up to Towner, where that incredible new peak is predicted into the 60s as far as the number of feet, 61 I think it was. And let's take a look at the radar, not the radar, but the river levels. What were you saying, Mike? I'm sorry, I missed that. Mike said something in my... Okay, the river levels, here we go. We're going to do that right now. And these are the river levels that involve the Missouri River. We thought we'd like to update you on those as well. We're at 30.11 in Williston. It hit 30.61 on the 21st, which was Tuesday, and has been coming back down since then. A slight uptick again today, but you know, it's back down from its crest anyway. At Garrison, the battle to try to match inflow and outflow is, well, it's going on. That inflow, I'm quite sure, is not right. I think it's around 152 or something thousand today. I looked that up. I can't remember when, but at some point today. I know I didn't look it up. I heard it reported, I believe, in Bismarck. But at any rate, they are dropping the level of the lake right now. And, of course, 1854 is considered to be full in Garrison, so it's well over that right now at the 1854.42 level. In fact, before I leave this spot, I just want to check quickly and see what the record high for the Lake Sakakawea is, because I think that might be very close to it at that 1854.42 level. And, you know, 1854.8 is the record. So we're not that far off from hitting a record level on the Garrison Dam, and then downstream into the Bismarck-Mandan area we go, and that's where it's now at 19.02, getting over the 19-foot mark. And you know, the crest is still apparently not there, as the river is over 19 feet now in Bismarck. And we showed you a picture a couple of days ago of a home that was kind of swallowed up somewhat by the Missouri River at Hoke Island area. And since then, we've been given a video today of this same house This happened today. The river just kept pounding against it. And notice what happens to this house over the course of the next, I don't know, we should time it. We'll see how long it takes, but it turns 180 degrees while we're watching it here. It's you know, facing us with those windows in our direction right now, and the river is churning and moving it. And eventually you'll see kind of an entryway that will face toward us as the Missouri is showing its mightiness here. Some of the other damage to the houses and people watching what's going on there, but now you go back over here and see that now it's turned about 90 degrees. It's facing us. That took 35 seconds to reach this point, and I think in the matter of just maybe 15 more seconds, it's going to complete the 180-degree turn that house made, being swept away by the Missouri River. Yeah, grand total of about 45 seconds is what it took for it to go from facing one direction to facing the opposite direction. Some stunning footage there sent to us by a viewer through our Facebook link. And we encourage you to take advantage of Facebook to send us pictures and videos, to chat with each other, and you know, to just generally get to know each other out there. Checking the radar right now. Tom, what do you see on there?
Well, I just contacted the Weather Service because the numbers that I was seeing just weren't right.
Yep.
Based on ground reports, it's probably 4 inches of rain.
The lignite storm?
The lignite storm, very close to 4 inches of rain.
Okay.
And it's still raining.
Yeah, it sure is. And that's just south of Lignite. The Powers Lake storm was pretty strong for a little bit.
It fell apart. I mean, there's moderate rain showers there, but it fell apart.
Some showers then stretching across over toward the Mohall area, and then, you know, Northgate down to Bowbells getting some rain showers as well. But nothing quite like
up in Northgate, between Northgate and Portal, that's the beginning of another little storm, it looks like.
Yep. And that's you know, right on the Mouse River, the Souris River in Canada, and it's right there. And not, you know, obviously the perfect thing that we don't want to have happen is more shower activity, but that's what we're dealing with. And the good thing, I guess, is that it's not terribly widespread. It's quite an isolated event, but it's still going to put a lot of rain. Did you say 4 inches?
4 inches is what the weather
based
service,
on actual reports?
Well, based on what we saw when the other storm was around Tioga, and what the radar looked like there, and what it looks like now, we just cut it in half.
Yeah, wow. So there you go. That's a big storm that is continuing to develop. We give you a look from the top of the Holiday Inn here, looking to the northeast. Well, almost at those storms, but they'd be a little more northwest, but looking to the northeast at the State Fair Grandstand right up there, and all of the water that is taken over that area. I don't know if we can go down and in a little bit here just to kind of look toward that intersection down there. We're looking at a little bit in the shadows. On the center is the gymnastics building, one of the commercial buildings when the State Fair is actually going on. And you can zoom in a little farther just so we can get a good look at that intersection down there and maybe kind of get an idea of just how high the water is as it continues to move higher and continues to flow. I see some movement going from left to right through there too, even in the quality of this webcam, such as it is. But you know, major water problems here. Let's pan to the left if we can and look at the gymnastics building. Or maybe we can't. Oh, go to the left. I wanted to see the gymnastics building. Yeah, there we go. We're coming. And one thing I was kind of keeping an eye on was that loading dock door there, and I guess it's kind of hard to judge how much it might have gone up since we saw it, you know, in the last hour or so. But definitely the river's going up, even though we don't have a new reading from the Weather Service. Right now we're looking at a 5 p.m. reading, and we're stuck there, and here it is at 7:30. We should have had 2 new readings, and judging by how it had been going up until this point, if we have that same rise going on, it's probably getting closer to 1561 than it is to 1560, but can't tell you for sure what it is because the readings have stopped coming in from that particular gauge at the Broadway Bridge. We have some pictures we want to look at. We have some Facebook pictures that we had seen that. Okay, so we'll hold off on the Facebook pictures. We'll take a break is what we'll do because we have much more to show you. We're going to talk more about what happened at the press conferences this afternoon. I would like to also, as we go to the break, remind you that if you are making a donation to the local Red Cross, you should make your check payable to the Mid-Dakota Red Cross to make sure the money stays local. If you donate online, it for sure will go local. You can have that choice as you do the online donation. This was the picture that ran in the New York Times today that captures the emotion of the folks who are going through the devastation of the greatest flooding ever in the city of Minot. We'll be right back.
From KX News in high definition, this is a special report on Flood Fight 2011.
No travel is advised in the Minot area. That is from the Minot Flood Operations Center. There is no travel advised now in the Minot area because of the ongoing heavy traffic of heavy equipment in the area trying to finish up dikes in the 3rd Street area down over to Broadway, and dikes along the highways 2 and 52 west of Minot, and other dikes in the area such as out in the southeast part of town, down around the Magic City Implement area. There are many places where it is very dangerous to be on the street because of the trucks that are moving back and forth, and so now they've issued a no travel advisory because of that situation. Mike Elm is here with us now as we continue. And Mike, I don't even know what you have for me. You said I have some stuff, so you came out and sat down. What's going on?
Well, Jennifer Thorgerson and I decided to head to the north side of town today and find out what's going on, and actually ended up in the northeast section around that 3rd Street, and Jennifer will have more on the diking there. But as we were there, we saw a little bit of the, I think it's the Army National Guard Black Hawk helicopter doing one of its sandbag
those 1-ton things?
Patchworks, and if you can see the video on that. I think you someone else has said in the video of this, but we got it as well, and I just wanted to show you what it looked like. It was just such a presence to hear this helicopter right beside us, and then to see what it was doing. And you don't see very often an actual helicopter involved with any sort of this type of event, especially in the Minot area. So it was kind of unique to see it.
It's a 1-ton sandbag that they drop one at a time, obviously.
You'll see as it picks it up, comes out of the trees here, and they add a little area where they would pick it up off of a flatbed, and then they would carry it over to where they were patching the area. We were on the north side of the dike. This is about 12th Street northeast and around 6th Avenue. So it'd be east of Sammy's Pizza. I'm trying to use the locators that people would understand. Along the north side of the bridge there, and you can just see how intricate this is. You got power lines to worry about, things to get over, and you see how delicate of an operation it is. But it was just very awestruck to see what this helicopter was doing. So again, Jen and I went over to that side and got a little bit of that. And after a while, they, I guess, must have done a nice job.
That thing starts swinging.
Yeah, there is a wind, and the amount of wind that puts off. We were standing next to another gentleman was taking just photographs, and he mentioned you might want to back up a little bit when that thing gets a little low to the ground. Not only does, of course, dirt and debris start flying, but if you're in any water, it'll spit all over your lens. He said you won't be able to see very much if you get too close. So it's good advice from him, and we got this shot here. You see it dropping it over the trees here, and then this is. They must have had some sort of leak in there. Here's another look at it.
That's what they did have.
This is the area that they were working on, and again, we had gone around to try to get the helicopter, but by then it had left actually loading the sandbags. But here we see again, they're just getting some of the National Guard back in there, putting dirt in that area, and trying to build, I guess, a dike there across, I guess, actually over the water.
Well, yeah, this was the area where they had problems with some sort of not a breach, but water coming under the dike, I believe, and it had the sewer system had helped to create a spot where water was coming up. And so the way he explained it was they built the ring dike around that area, and were able to build it up to the same level as the other levee system, and then they filled it up. They let it fill up in there, and then it stopped. Once it reaches the level of the river, it stopped, and then the problem was over. So it kind of seals itself by them building that dike around it. So
and then so we did that, and we got that, and we were bouncing around a little bit. And Jen, again, I'll have some more stuff to show you, and I think Perry Olson's also working on a story. And then we decided to go northwest Minot, and this is something I know growing up. And this is on 4th Avenue looking west, right by, you see the Red Cross. You see the corner market. You'll see in a moment here shots, there's the Red Cross and how high the water is. This was about an hour ago, maybe hour 15. But as we stood there, you can see the water is actually moving to the north because it's spreading out. It needs to go somewhere.
Moving out from the river.
Moving out from the river.
Yeah, it's trying to fill up the valley.
Yeah, and you can see it. There's looking down 21st Street, And I mean, you're just starting to see debris. I mean, water will pick up a lot of things, and we'll see things floating along here. And this is looking more, again, down 21st Street Northwest, right off of 4th Avenue. And many people were in the area looking along and just checking things out. The hanging baskets, I mean, you don't know what you're going to see floating in the river. In fact, we then went up to 5th Avenue around 18th Street Northwest, and someone said, you might want to get video of this. There was a pontoon that was anchored at around, I want to say 17th Street Northwest and 4th Avenue, but you'll see it in the background there, and then we get a close-up shot. The pontoon drifted away, so someone tied that to a tree, and then, of course, other debris you see just in the water that just starts floating with the water that picks it up. It was kind of very unique. One of the homes right on the corner there of 5th Avenue, and I believe it was around 18th Street, maybe 19th, a couple was sitting on their steps, and the water was in their yard, and about, I want to say 10, 15 feet from where they were sitting on their steps. It was a very solemn moment to see them just kind of sitting there saying, we're not leaving till the last moment, and just to see them say, we're staying here until we absolutely have to leave this area.
Well, we're expecting the river to rise another 3 feet or so before it's finished with its rise. I'd estimate that right now we're probably at about 1560 and a half. I can't tell you exactly because it stopped working. The gauge has stopped working down by the Broadway Bridge at the exact same time that it stopped working last night, by the way, as I recall, 5 o'clock. We went a long time without, and we still don't have an update. But so, you know, 3 feet or so, I guess they'll find out if they have enough space or not to make it.
Yeah. And there were quite a few people that I'm sure are undecided. You know, should we still do we still have time? Is this going to come more? Should we just be safe and move a few things out? So I know there's just hearing from other people, they're walking along streets, just they're undecided. Is this going to come more? And we haven't been told to get out. Should we at least move some things? And there's a lot of indecisiveness in the Northwest, I'm sure all over town, Northeast, Southeast, and Southwest.
And I mean, I think, you know, people like that are probably doing, I think, the right thing as long as they know they have an escape route. You know, they can go out 4th Avenue, right, to the northwest, and that's not going to be shut down by the water. And so, you know, I think they're being kind of pragmatic. They're watching to see what's happening, and it should only get to this height. Now, you know, if we get major storms here, it could push the river up, and then they might have to make a different decision. But, you know, just be smart and make the right decision. Now, before I let you go, a couple of days ago, I was asked to help out the CBS early show and do a little stand-up, you know, live on the morning show on CBS, and I also recorded a story for them. It was actually a story that they put together based on video that we had sent them, and they just had me put my voice on it. And included in that was a relative of yours, I believe.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think the Walds made it in that story.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering, you know, I mean, I guess they've got water on their house, don't they? I mean, it's, you know, it's a sad thing. I know because she said that, you know, she feels, Bertha said, you know, I just feel awful about this, and
I think
so much work put into this house.
And in fact, talking to my wife today, went to try to get as close as she could down there, and looking down that Central Avenue, Southwest, everyone's going to take water. There's, you know, it depends on how high it keeps coming, but there is definitely water there, and a lot of people are going to, you know, have to head back to something that they haven't seen before. And many have, but many haven't. And it'll
not to this level. Anyway.
Not to this level, that's for sure.
All right, well, good luck to them. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for stopping by.
You bet.
And I didn't hear you, Mike, what you said there. Some pictures from Catherine. This our own Catherine Ross. You know, she's such a good big sister. She had a trip planned for months and months to go and visit her brother at his high school graduation as a surprise, you know, going in and surprising him. And so she cut the trip short on our behalf to come back and help with flood coverage. But I said, well, it seems to me like something you really should try to do if you can. So she did go ahead with the trip. And she took these pictures from the plane as she was coming back in. Look at the line of cars. I'm assuming that's maybe the, I don't know what road that is, but look at that line of cars there that's stretching for, I don't know how long, a mile or more. And look at the puddles of water out there with that high water table in the area as well. As Catherine took some shots, and she's back in the building now, as a matter of fact, and ready to go out and get to work and start bringing you some of what she can find out in the neighborhood. Here's a shot she took as she was trying to figure out how to get back to work, I think. Is this still from Catherine, right? Yeah, okay. Because she texted me at one point and said, you know, I'm home, I'm back, I'm coming back to work, except I don't know if I'm ever going to get from North Hill to South Hill to come to work after flying in. But she finally did make it, and you can see that she took some photos along the way to document her trip for us. And as I say, we'll be hearing from her with some of her stories over the course of the next few minutes, next few hours, I should say. Before I take a break, I want to just one more time check and make sure that we haven't received a new update on the Minot River level. We're still at the, no, we're unchanged. Sorry, I didn't mean to excite you there, but we're still at 1560.13, the latest level of the Mouse River as reported by the USGS. And here you are looking at one of our new Facebook live webcams that you can check out by going to facebook.com/KXNewsMinot. If you go there, you'll be able to check and choose from among several different live webcams. And this one is just east of the Broadway Bridge. Look at all the dust in the air over there where they're working on that secondary dike over North Broadway. You see that on the left side of the screen. And meanwhile, look at the river that continues to spread out. And here comes a truck straight at us down the Highway 2 there. We can zoom in. We just did zoom in there. And just kind of get a look at how things look. The river spreading out into the river valley through the city of Minot. And boy, that's a nice high quality web camera shot. A truck coming at us on the left-hand side there that is either, I guess, probably done dumping its load of dirt or clay and heading back out. And I told you that we are in the process of setting up our live remote system with our live full HD camera, and that is going to be set up in an area that should give us many, many good shots this evening. And Sean Sitma will have that available to him. We might even have it before Sean goes on the air, I believe. Here, we'll have it maybe in the next hour or so.
Want some good news?
Absolutely.
All those thunderstorms off to the west are weakening.
They're dying out.
They're dying out right now.
We should actually look at them. Here they are right here.
There's a number of them. You know, small one around Tioga, but the key word is small. The one around Northgate, slightly stronger, so I guess that's not totally accurate that they're all weakening, but that's not a big storm right now. And 4 inches of rain fell just south of Lignite. But that does not, the Weather Service checked the drainage on that storm, and it does not flow directly into the Black. What they told me was that it may run into Stony Run if the storm progresses east, and then the Stony Run flows south out of Flaxton and then into the Black. So it's not a for sure thing to get into the Black, and it's still far enough west.
Okay. It's certainly within the basin that drains into the Des Lacs and the Mouse River, but that's good to hear that it has a hard trip to get there. We're all in favor of making it as hard as possible for that water to get there. Here you see a shot looking kind of to the northeast, from just east of the North Broadway Bridge there, looking off to the northeast that you know, it shows the width of the river here. Off to the left, you can see the work going on the dike over there, but to the right, you just see how far the water is spread out here. That railroad administration building is in the center of the screen there.
And I don't know if you can see, it's right to the left of that telephone pole. Can we zoom in really tight? And I don't know if it's going to pixelate or not, but that's a car sitting. It's almost underneath the banner now, so you'll have to move it. The camera, it's behind the banner. Wrong way.
There we go.
Wrong way. Keep going. Keep going. Now, down, up, down. But I need to see the top of the screen. Wrong way. There you go. Oh. Now zoom in as much as you can.
Still trying to decide if there's a car there. Where are you?
Oh no, that is a car. I was there when we were setting up the cameras. Right next to the telephone pole.
Oh, right there.
Right,
okay.
See where our KX News logo is?
Yeah.
That's a car. Right there.
And it's not doing well, probably. Probably unfortunate that it was left there behind. And we have a shot now of Mike Heilman's house. Which one is it, Mike? This is frozen from our video tour, our aerial tour today. No, I know. The second one, the farther one away from us. So the brown townhouses. How many in from the left? With the brown garage door, okay, and so the water is significantly up on the top of your, or not on the top, but on the side of your house there, Mike. I am feeling bad about that. The one thing is that in this particular aerial tour, we did not look at the Souris Drive area, which is where I am located. And so it seems to me that if Galen didn't shoot it, it means there wasn't any water there. So, no, I'm just kidding. We know that water is everywhere throughout the river valley in Minot now, and going up. The latest readings from the National Weather Service are not seeming to become available, and we're still waiting. Have you ever seen the Mary Tyler Moore show? The one version. It's the election night where Ted Baxter. They've got the new system in to put the most recent numbers on a big board that he stands in front of. And I think Rhoda was actually the one who was running the numbers back inside. It was kind of like Fenway Park's big green monster with how they run the scores there. So they had a computer problem after the first precinct came in, and it never changed the rest of the night. And so Ted would say, and it's still Johnson 18 and Smith 31. And that just went on and that's where we are right now. We're waiting for a new number on the Broadway Bridge from the USGS. This is exactly the time of night last night that it locked up and stopped working as well. That says to me it might be some sort of a computer issue, but that's the way it is right now. We're 10 minutes before the top of the hour, and we're going to move on to Perry's story now, which is the report on our press conference from tonight. It was a historic day for the people in the city of Minot. This was the day that we made history in a way that none of us ever would like to make history. The 130-year-old record for the highest water ever recorded in the city of Minot was defeated, was smashed by the Mouse River. As Perry Olson tells us today, the river is still continuing to rise, but there was at least a glimmer of some good news at the press conference late in the day today.
Finally, a day where the releases from this spot, the Lake Darling Dam, were not announced to be going up again.
This morning we were informed by the Corps of Engineers and the National Weather Service that the flow coming into Lake Darling was at 24,000 CFS and that they were going to hold those outflows at 24,000 CFS instead of the 26,000 they had planned on releasing at 1 a.m. today.
Of course, the water that has been released did this today. Minot broke its all-time crest record set back in 1881, and the rise continues, expected to go up another 3 or 4 feet. It's devastation the likes Minot hasn't seen in its history, an incredible battle that continues for the city.
Is that, even though we are still frantically fighting the flood, trying to keep the water away still as much as possible.
That continued fight includes the secondary dike that's being built in Minot. There was a bit of a scare today, though, that required a Black Hawk helicopter to drop a 1-ton sandbag at a trouble spot. Work was stopped on the secondary dike as the bag was picked up and dropped. It proved to be a success, and now the Corps says the work is nearly complete.
I mean, we should be, as an estimate, we will be through, or our estimate is before the crest gets here, we will be able to raise it before the crest gets here.
Lieutenant Colonel Kendall Bergman says they are about 80 to 90% complete and should be finished on Saturday. Fire Chief C.J. Craven indicated today that citizens have continued to heed warnings about leaving the flood area. No rescues have occurred yet.
Most of the boat operations to this point have consisted of welfare checks and people who have just gotten stranded. We haven't had to go in and rescue anyone who has not left their house at this time.
Basically, today was a day full of continued work and continued heartache, watching a city so many call home become submerged. In Minot, Perry Olson, KX News.
It was refreshing to hear Governor Jack Dalrymple at that press conference this afternoon say that we're frantically fighting this this flood, and we'll continue to do so. I'm glad to hear that attitude from the governor, because the last thing we need to do is say that the fight is over, because the fight goes on for thousands of people, the fight to get back to normal, to bring the city back even better than it was before. Trinity Health, by the way, has announced to us that it is activating the North Hill Special Edition of Trinity. I'm not sure if they have a name for it. It's their North Hill Medical Unit. It's going to be opened up at the Lewis and Clark Elementary School, and it is active there to supply basic health care and emergency services. It'll be effective noon tomorrow that Trinity will be opening up that location at Lewis and Clark Elementary School. when I read that, I thought, well, does that mean that they know something we don't, that perhaps we're not going to be able to save Broadway? But in fact, Randy Schwann, who was on live with us this afternoon, is quoted here as saying that they're taking this step because of the incredible traffic problems that are being encountered throughout the city. And of course, we have a recommendation of no travel advised in the area. So Trinity has decided to open up this clinic on June 25th, tomorrow at noon, and will provide basic care there. Any emergency cases that need hospitalization will be using the services of the Criticare helicopter to fly. Lewis and Clark Health Center will be staffed by physicians and mid-level providers and nurses and other staff members, and they'll be working with Minot Air Force Base and UND Center for Family Medicine, as well as their own staff members. They'll adjust the services that are offered to meet the needs of the community, but that will start tomorrow at noon. Trinity opening up that health center at Lewis and Clark Elementary School on North Hill. We are coming up on 5 minutes before 8 o'clock. We'll take a break now as we continue with our coverage of Flood Fight 2011. Jim Olson with you this evening until 10, and then Sean Sitma will be here once again to take you into the overnight hours until 6 o'clock Saturday morning, when Perry will be here, Perry Olson, to take over once again as we continue our commitment to you to keep covering this flood of 2011 and the fight to win this battle. We'll be back in just a moment.
From KX News in high definition, this is a special report on Flood Fight 2011.
How do you evacuate 11 or 12,000 people and have only a couple hundred show up at shelters that are opened up to help out? The answer from North Dakota Senator Ken Conrad: it's just the people of North Dakota. It's friends and neighbors helping each other and getting through a situation like we're in here in north central North Dakota. All along the Mouse River, people are suffering because of the river. The river is bringing down its high levels of water and bringing it down like a hammer on so many people, ruining homes and affecting lives in ways that were never really thought about until just the past few weeks. And yet here we are, ready to talk about how we're going to recover from this and come back out the other side stronger than ever. And today, Senator Conrad said he's hearing from his colleagues from around the country and Americans in general about how remarkable the spirit of North Dakotans really is, and how we are able to fight through a situation like this with the optimism that things will be better on the other side. It's a difficult time right now for people who are looking at their homes. We've told you about some of them, standing and looking at a house that you can see that the water is right up to the rafters, right up to the roof line, and homes that you spent 20 years building up, and maybe the last few years remodeling and making big changes to and investing your whole life into, now to be sitting in the water, and then have that question that with the water staying high for a week or more, what's going to be left when I go back? So many questions and so many answers yet to be delivered, and yet the people of this part of the country are ready to answer them, I think, in a positive way, and we wish you the best. And we'll do our best to help you along the way as well. The Mouse River officially hit an all-time high level of today. And Mike, I'm going to call for that graphic here to show us what the levels are expected to be over the next couple of days. The river went past the all-time high of 1,558 late in the morning today. That was really nothing because it's still moving up. It's over the 1,560 mark now. And the National Weather Service projection is calling for levels to hit the 1,563 mark by 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then perhaps reach a crest tomorrow night, maybe 1,563.6 or so. The kind of devastating thing is that we're going to be looking at these high levels for such a long period of time. The river is going to be above 1,563 by tomorrow morning while you're sleeping. I hope you're getting some rest. And it will stay there through 1 a.m. Thursday of next week. And looking at another level, 1,562, it's going to go over that sometime around midnight or so tonight and stay there through July 1st, which is the end of the forecast period. So for all we know, it could stay there longer than that. So it's a long term. It was a slow motion disaster that took its time getting here. And now it is just an endless disaster that's going to take its time getting out of here and giving us the chance to move on to the next fight, and that is to regain our homes in this part of North Dakota. Well, so let's talk about that now. You know, even at this high level, the chance of finishing up a secondary dike that has been being built over the past few days are rated as pretty good. Today, the Corps of Engineers official said the dike is about 80 to 90% complete. We have some video to show you here. Lieutenant Colonel Kendall Bergman estimates that contractors are, getting close to being finished and should be done tomorrow in time for this to protect many homes and Broadway by the time the crest hits.
It's pretty close.
I mean, we should be, as an estimate, we will be through, or our estimate is before the crest gets here, we will be able to raise it before the crest gets here.
That, of course, would be a spectacular victory in this fight, because it would mean that many homes, dozens, perhaps more than 100 homes that are, in the line of fire for this river in normal circumstances would be protected. Basically, homes that are east of North Broadway and to the north of the river and the railroad tracks going on to the east. If that happens, it would be a great accomplishment for the engineers who've been working to protect Minot and the Mouse River Valley against this Mouse River flood of 2011. Now, there are also work projects going on in Sawyer and Velva to raise the dikes there. In Sawyer, we're told about 90% of the work is done, and in Velva, about 40% of the work is finished up. Velva's crest is expected to be a few feet above its normal top end for its levee protection, but this will give them now a time to build up that levee, and the Corps official said the work on that levee should be done by Saturday or Sunday in time for the projected crest there. One of the things that people have talked about since we've had this flood develop and become a reality is the possibility of getting individual assistance, as it's called, from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. FEMA turned down North Dakota's request, or I guess the White House, the president, turned down the request from North Dakota for individual assistance last week. However, this week, yesterday, that request was resubmitted, especially in light of all of the damages associated with this mouth